3, 4, 5. I'm your host, David Cameo, and we are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep. And today we're going to be talking about the 14th episode in the 11th and final season of The Walking Dead. This is episode 184. A little bit of news for you in case you don't know. And it's quite possible that you don't, if you're not tethered to the Walking Dead family, that the Walking Dead main show has finished principal photography for The Walking Dead yesterday. The grief is settling in, as it were, and I for my part, I posted something on Twitter saying to the effect of, I'm more thinking of others on the crew and cast and everybody that supports the show rather than myself, because what they must be going through after, I don't know, like 11, 12 years of service, it's pales in comparison to us losing our favorite television show. So my thoughts go to all of you on the cast and crew for dedicating your lives to giving us something incredible. And I even for the folks like Michael Satrazemis, who's on Fear the Walking Dead, I just can't imagine what they're feeling right now. I know the Walking Dead universe will go on, but I feel for them. I feel like guys like Norman Reedus, even though he's going to go on to a spin-off show, for everybody else whose tenure has ended on the cast and crew. So my thoughts to them, and I've been pensive myself, thinking about, every time we do an episode, I'm more and more pensive as this series comes to a close, and we have basically to cling on to the spin-off shows, including Fear the Walking Dead, Tales of the Walking Dead, the possible Negan Maggie spin-off, possible Carol Daryl spin-off, as we kind of touch on that in this episode, as you'll see. But I'll let you watch that. Some other bit of news, a little bit of behind-the-scenes action. I don't have too much to say about this, but we are, me and a couple of other TW family members in the space are planning another big giveaway for not this coming Sunday, but probably the Sunday afterwards. We're going to be coordinating. We're going to be combining our powers like Captain Planet and be giving you. We're going to be giving you a massive giveaway opportunity. We're fleshing out some details, but I really want to get this going and see what we can do. It's to help a fellow Walking Dead family member, Douglas Atherton, who I think goes under Walking Dead Art. He and his family have fallen under hard times, so I wanted to reach out to a couple of other peoples in the space to see if we can spread the wealth and our creativity, and to try to make not something quite as large as our Jackbox charity live stream, which you can watch or listen to the episode detailing that particular charity, that 7-hour charity stream where we play Jackbox games and gave away prizes. But it's going to be something similar. It's going to be a lot shorter. We're going to make it so that you have the opportunity all week to donate money to Douglas's GoFundMe. But we're going to do it in a special way. Hopefully we can do it similarly to the way we were doing our Jackbox charity live stream, basically funneling your donations through our Ko-fi account. But we'll have more details on that soon. Be sure to follow all our social media, or your preferred social media account where you can follow us, and enable notifications. We don't post that much, I assure you. We try to keep your news feeds clean, as it were. So please turn on notifications, be they story or post notifications. It's the best way to get the info on this charity thing. We may be doing another premiere obviously next week, so at the very worst you'll have another intro, so episode 185, covering basically I think it's episode 15 of season 11, so you'll know by then the absolute details if you are not following us on social media, which you should be. You just should be. Thank you, Bridget, for showing up to the premiere. And without further ado, here is the episode in its 2-hour glory. We cut down this unedited episode from 3 hours plus to 2 hours for you, so you can imagine what the unedited content contains. Now, if you want to be in the recording sessions with us in the real-time chat, Or if you want to get the unedited version of this episode days and days before it is available here to you now, head over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead. It's right there in the corner. And just follow us. When you do, you will know when we record, when the unedited episode recordings are posted, along with a whole host of other things. And should you decide to join us or get a copy of the unedited episode, you can just pounce on it by either tipping us and getting 30 days of supporter-back content, or you can join a membership tier for as little as $1 a month, but no pressure. We're all about you just, should you prefer to, getting involved with us more by just following us, and then you'll know exactly when you want to get involved. If you tip us during this premiere, right now, as we are live, your tip will show up on this video forever. On YouTube, at least, if not Facebook, if you tip us within the first 10 minutes, but YouTube preferably. And without further ado, here's the episode. We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep. I'm your host, David Cameo. And I'm joined by Cosmom09 Rachel Burt and Survivors tier members Bridget, ex-Prophecy Girl on Twitter, and Jasmine.iec on Instagram. Hello, everybody. Good to be here. We're here to talk about the 14th episode of The Walking Dead's 11th season, titled That.
Fun fact, the Rotten Core is also the name of the 31st volume of the Walking Dead comic.
Rachel brought out the comic. All right, so what is the theme of that particular comic that matches up with what the content is featuring right now in this episode?
So the volume of the Rotten Core actually starts with...
Oh, it's a volume, not a single issue? Or it is a volume,
correct.
Right? Okay.
That actually starts when Pamela's going around to visit the communities like Alexandria, Hilltop, Oceanside. So basically the start of the Rotten Core is in line with the start of 11-12, story-wise.
Why do those issues have that name? Why does that volume have that name, do you think?
It's the beginning of the it's the beginning of kind of like the exposing that the Commonwealth isn't all that it seems. That's basically the focus on that volume.
Okay, so that's the theme of the comic. That's where we seem to be in, and I think we're kind of accelerating into this really, really rather quickly. Let's talk about feelings about this episode.
I am loving, let me stress this again, loving Savage Aaron. I am here for it, and I want him to kill more people. But at the same time, I want him to teach his fucking daughter how to kill people. So let's get that going too.
Let's just teach the world how to kill.
How to kill. Yes, right. I'm for it. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I should condone this. It doesn't matter.
Let's say defend ourselves then.
Oh,
how's that?
Now you're just being better? Politically correct.
Was Aaron really defending himself from Toby Carlson?
Oh.
Yes. Brought him back in handcuffs?
You think that's going to work on him? I think he's the kind of guy that needs some killing.
That would have been a better scenario, but
it's not self-defense is my kind of main thing. Like, the guy was unarmed.
Right.
Well, self-defense in a bigger sense. He was a threat to his people and not an immediate threat on his life, but he was a big threat to his people and the communities.
Of the Commonwealth, you're saying?
No, maybe not necessarily them, but Aaron's people. Like, I'm saying,
right. The outside, the people that we did the show with all this time.
Right, our people,
right.
people, yeah. Because if he's doing this to these people, there's no stopping him from showing up at Hilltop doing the same thing, or Alexandria, or Oceanside, or anywhere. One
less mouth to have to try to defend himself and lie about it, or something like that. I mean, he's CIA, former CIA, so they'll have to do anything to kind of say, or off the record, or I can't talk about that, redacted. He'll not or do say anything to protect his source and the mission and all that stuff. Yeah, if he's gone, he can't say anything. Dead man tell no tales.
That's right.
But I don't think it was about that. Aaron looked very pissed. And had he not done that, by the way, there wouldn't be that mirror of what Mercer does at the end of the episode. to those two soldiers. It is kind of like a mirror. You are a traitor to what this thing was supposed to mean. The Commonwealth, namely. So.
Also, what are those uniforms made out of that a bullet didn't go through it?
What do you mean?
When Aaron shot Carlson, it didn't go through the armor.
It didn't? I think all it means is that he didn't die immediately, which thank goodness, because that shit was cool.
Maybe this was editing, maybe it wasn't on purpose, but when he shot him, there weren't even holes. There was like a puff of dust, and that was it.
That's just the Walking Dead's budget.
Right, dust bullets.
We can't afford black holes.
or like to like a Sharpie, right?
Yeah. We can't just color on them.
And here's what I'm thinking: like it would have even been more badass had Aaron aimed to graze him, like right, so he just tumble off the roof. But knowing reality, it would be like Aaron, even at that short a distance, is a bad shot. So,
it looked like he got him center mass, though. Like, I mean,
did it? Okay.
It looked like it. It was fast, but I thought I saw him hit him. Like, yeah.
All right, in the center
in the
mass,
good parts.
In the delicious parts. Could be. I don't know. You're
right.
right.
All the yummy bits.
Because we both know that, like, yeah, filming, you know, it's not like as if he literally fell off the roof and they continued filming. So they probably situated him in the pile of walker, or well, the pile of walkers kind of situated themselves on top of him. So
I don't know if it was like coming off the high of like being at Fandemic and being at the viewing party at Nick and Norman's or what, but this episode to me wasn't as good as episode 13 is how I felt about it, which is weird because there were a lot of really great moments in it, but the episode previous just was really good. So I just felt like it was like a little bit below that. It wasn't even that I didn't like it necessarily, but it was just maybe a little bit slower than I was kind of hoping for. I mean, it was kind of meant to be this like action episode follow-up, and there was a lot of conversation, and of course it was like exposition that had to happen because there has to be these emotions that the characters are working through, and I'm looking at the tower sequences specifically, and I wanted that to be like a little more. It was so badass in the last episode, and then it like kind of
fizzled
down.
This is Bridget. I have no emotions. Beep bop bork.
Beep bop. Beep boop.
Just so everybody knows, we have a Discord that when you join as a member, you get to be a part of, and there is a spoilers channel. And conversation between Jasmine and Linda was very interesting.
This was a week ago. I don't remember this.
More than a week ago. You guys were talking about how you did not like Negan's trajectory.
Yes, I do agree with that. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought this up because all of the things I was going to say, Bridget said first, but now I have other things to say.
Listen, I'm good at what I do. Yeah, say, hey.
I don't know what the accent's for. I liked the Herschel-Negan interactions quite a bit, but I wasn't a big fan of where Negan's storyline has gone in terms of this whole Annie thing, because I don't really like when they develop like a whole romantic relationship off screen with like a main character. Like I feel like we had that with Daryl, and then like now we're having it again with Negan. Like you want to see like, you know, your Glenn Maggie situations where they're like slowly, that's on topic, isn't it? You see them slowly like building it up, and you see like the chemistry and stuff. You don't just kind of want your main character to be shoehorned in with a new character. Like they could have been in like the beginning, like the mists of a romantic relationship, but no, he's actually married and has a child on the way, which is a little bit far for me personally.
12 weeks into the pregnancy, and how long into the romance? Probably 6 months into the romance or something along those lines.
Almost 6
months.
Well,
let me drop another bit of knowledge. Like something we've said on the podcast repeatedly across time is that it seems like things are accelerated in the apocalypse. And I think 6 months is kind of like, you know, your 10-year anniversary, isn't it? Like, surprised they're only having a child, 12 weeks in, you know?
If you've made it that far, you're in it for the long haul.
The problem is almost that like it's only been an episode for us. Like it might have been a long time for them, but it's literally been like half an hour. It's been like, you know, half an hour of screen time.
Right. Gotcha.
Maybe less. And then it's like, whoa, he's married? He's going to have a kid? And it's like, also, the whole spin-off announcement kind of like clouds it as well, because in your head you're just like, well, she's probably going to die.
Right, how do they get rid of her?
I did really love the Herschel-Negan interactions, though. That was quite interesting. And it definitely looks like it's going to be potentially a turning point for the Maggie Negan kind of relationship.
So on the heels of that, it seems as though we are rapidly approaching the time skip that we get in 1109, because the very next episode alludes to that, which is not to say that I'm going to talk about it, but it does show scenes from that episode. Lance wearing the outfit that he wears, the kind of the LL Bean outfit. Ooh, this is me out in the wild. Ooh. It looks like, the 6 months are coming to reality, which is why I say 6 months, because it's kind of like season 11's version of 9/15 in a sense. Like, is it going to be a bloodbath? Either way, it's going to be a banger, because it feels like things are coming swiftly to not a conclusion, but like some sort of clash. The underbelly of the Commonwealth is coming to light, and so are the people who are sick of it, which actually kind of makes me excited for 1116 in a sense. When we talk about like things rapidly approaching a close with the show, but at the same time, like, okay, this is kind of interesting because we know a clash is going to happen in the next episode. But then what does 1116 look like? Or does it just continue even, which is kind of even more exciting?
I don't know. I'm trying really hard right now to forget what I know about the comic books and just enjoy what I'm seeing on screen, because I can feel myself like trying to make predictions solely based on what I already know. And I mean, we know they don't always stick to that. And I don't want them to either. Like, I don't want to know what's coming. Like, I like being surprised. So honestly, I don't know. And I don't know if I want to think about my theories too hard, because I'm just really enjoying being here and absorbing it all. Does that sound stupid?
No. I feel that. But I think the show kind of wants you to pull yourself into the comic books too, though. Like, oh, we're going to get them. We're going to get these comic book watchers.
Well, I just know we're probably right on the edge of a huge riot. Big...
Like revolution sort of thing?
Thank you. I was going to say retaliation, but that's not the word. Revolution. Yes, a revolution is coming.
They've definitely got a platform where they could lean onto the comic books, or they could deviate massively. It's they very much left it open.
This does bring to light something we have to keep asking on the show, season 11, is the layering of Lance Hornsby. Would you say that there's a lot more layering to this character than there is in the comic book?
Oh, yes.
Yes. I see those nods. Okay. The serious nods, too, which I take as a great indicator.
They are making this Lance a much more interesting character. I'm really liking this Lance.
How about we play Sharondy's take, and then we can continue from there?
We said a couple of weeks ago that Lance was like Saul Goodman, and he is. But the more I think about it, the more I think he's actually like Peter Baelish. Lance would
Peter Baelish from
burn
Game of Thrones,
the country down if he could be King of the Ashes. And that kind of makes me wonder if Primrose really is the catalyst for the zombie infection. And they're in Toledo. And my theory about Lance and Pamela being there to meet with Primrose, what if Lance is the reason this happened? What if he is trying to burn down the country so he can be King of the Ashes? And like they also said in Game of Thrones, power resides where men believe it resides. And so when everything went down, Pamela grabbed the power because she already had it. People believed in her. She was known. So now Lance is Peter Baelish grasping at the hem of the throne, That was one point. And another thing that made me think about Lance was in his conversation with Carol at the end. He says the only way this works is if people play their part, not if people do their part. And I think there's a fine distinction there. It's a play. It's all acting. It's all an illusion. He is probably the super duper bad guy of this series. Like they save the evil guy for last. Also, Negan, Maggie, you know the song. If you can't be with the one you love, love the one you're with. I love you guys. I wish I was there. Please fucking edit this, Dave.
She blows a kiss at the end. So she's asserting that what if Lance was the impetus of the zombie apocalypse completely? Like burn the country down so you can reign over the ashes, essentially, which is very interesting. And maybe he was in charge of Primrose, with the Primrose group or whatever. Let's talk about that first. The possible Primrose connection. You can tell from my face, I'm not really down with that. It doesn't seem right, doesn't feel right, but let me get your takes.
It's interesting, definitely. I felt like they were kind of saving that content for the movies, but I'm still holding out for the movies, so maybe right. I'm just a big old idiot. But,
no, I'm with you, actually. I don't know how much prep they're going to give us for that, for Primrose even.
So I'm not quite sure, because I felt like that was going to tie in to that and more of the CR and the CRM kind of stuff than Commonwealth. It's an interesting road to follow, if that does end up happening. I'd be surprised by a lot of stuff. So
that's kind of what I want to focus on. You'd be surprised. Like, it's like, it doesn't seem, but if it does,
yeah, I'm not mad about it if that was the way that it went.
I'm bad about it.
I have no idea what's going on with Primrose, not gonna lie. What is going on with Primrose?
Oh, fast walkers.
I feel like there's so little to actually know about it that it's almost like yeah, it's possible, but like there's no real reason to think the Commonwealth could be linked with Primrose, really, if that makes sense.
I was hoping for more of a the alien kind of thing with that. For those who haven't read any of the comic books, there was like a little single shot run of a comic called The Alien. And it is the story of Rick's brother, who is very briefly mentioned in the first couple issues of the actual comic book.
And I think in Carl's letter, too.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
So the TV show did kind of throw it in there as like a kind of like a one-off
like a
thing,
nod.
but it's not like super written into their canon in the show. But
Jeffrey Grimes, by the way.
Jeffrey, yes. Okay, so he's in Spain, in Barcelona, and
Barcelona.
Barcelona?
and so it's his little tale of dealing with the apocalypse as it comes on. So I thought with him being positioned in Europe, then maybe there was a shot to do something like that. And it doesn't even have to be Rick's brother necessarily. Like, you could throw anyone in there. I wouldn't really care. But I thought that would be a cool nod to the original content.
I'm just going to ask this out of curiosity. Why is it called The Alien?
Well, I always assumed it was because he is the alien.
Right. Okay.
There, as a, not a resident alien, but just someone traveling who is not from that country, who does not know it like the back of his hand. So that would be even more difficult to deal with the apocalypse ensuing if you're in a place that you're not really familiar with. You don't know who in your neighborhood has guns, or are there even guns, because there's stricter laws in a lot of Europe about that kind of stuff. So then how are you even going to find anything? It brings up a lot of issues that I personally think are really interesting. It's the same thing if anybody's read the Walking Dead novel Typhoon, which takes place in China.
China, yeah.
It's by Wesley Cho. It's killer. It's a really killer novel. I highly recommend it. But guns can tend to be viewed as a predominantly American thing, to just have them around. And so I think it's really cool to see other cultures deal with that then, not having direct access.
With the zombie apocalypse, essentially?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, all of this is making me want to bring up this movie that I have recommended before, but I highly recommend people watch. I watched it on Amazon Prime. It's called The Night Eats World. It takes place in Paris, and it's in English. You've seen it? Okay, cool.
It's a good movie. Yeah, it's a good movie.
It's really psychological. The Night Eats World. French zombie film directed by Dominique Rochet, written by Jérémy Guez, Guillaume Lemont, and Dominique Rochet, who directed it. Yeah, really, really cool movie in English. It's just these Americans who are living in France, and he's having an issue with his ex-girlfriend, actually, who they went together with, but they were now exes. And he's coming to this party as, I'm just your friend, and et cetera, et cetera. But he's feeling down, locks himself in the room, and that's when the zombie apocalypse happens. He's all down. He's like, I'm sleeping in this room. And all of a sudden, he wakes up the next day, and the zombie apocalypse happens, and blood smeared all over the walls. And it's not like lame zombies, too. It's like, what the fuck zombies?
That'd be the worst. Stuck in the zombie apocalypse with your ex.
Well, he didn't have to worry about that after the door closed. I mean, it's not a...
Okay, so she died. She died, right?
Yeah.
She didn't survive? Okay,
Right
good.
at the beginning.
Good.
In the description of this, it says, but is he the lone survivor? So I'm assuming he's on his own for the start, at least.
A little while. Okay.
It's really good.
It's kind of like,
it's
that's
not-
open-ended.
Yeah, it's not very traditional in the style, but I really liked it. It's
So it doesn't have an
very
ending?
emotional. It's very emotional.
Yeah, I'm going to say I forgot the ending also. So, you know what I mean? Like but it was powerful. You know what I mean? And things were kind of questionable. You
A
know?
bad
it's
ending can
more-
ruin a whole movie for
Oh,
me.
no, it's definitely not
I didn't-
bad ending, I don't
leave.
think.
I didn't leave feeling bad about it, but it is
Okay.
It's open ended, so
Yeah.
it's can be a little more like your interpretation of what would happen. which I don't always hate.
That scares me.
Sometimes I really dislike that.
Okay.
This one, it didn't bother me.
Also, when you're talking about the zombie apocalypse drama sort of things, like they tend to go in the direction of everybody dies, usually, because of what you're afraid of, Rachel. Only because, well, I don't like that they actually survived.
I mean, what's the alternative? They find a cure? Yeah,
Right,
I mean,
right.
that would be lame.
Right. So that's why they usually always die. But with this one,
Yeah.
they wanted to focus on the psychological drama part of it. Like, what does it look like for somebody to be isolated from everybody else who seems to have all died? And they really
all right.
go hard in the paint, like when it comes to how this person survives on his own for so long. So that's why it's
cool.
there is a level of satisfaction to it in a sense. But in the context of like, am I seeing this right? Is he seeing this right? Is this what's really happening? Am I the hero of my own story? That whole thing.
I feel like you have to go in like mentally prepared to that it's kind of like artsy.
I don't know.
I if you're like, I love Romero, like don't go into this thinking it's gonna be like that, because it's not.
But on the
Okay.
flip side is actually, I mean, it's very well filmed, right? The shots are not wasted. It sets a mood really, really well. So you'll get sucked in. This is not like schlocky. It is. There's beauty
it felt
in the mood.
like a really quick watch too. It wasn't high end, fast paced all the time, but it wasn't so slow that I was like, oh my god, when the hell is this over?
Right. It does suck you in.
It was good.
It does suck you in the way that it paces it. Even though it feels, honestly, by the time it was over, I was like, this felt like forever, and yet it wasn't. Like you were there with him in a sense. So anyway, we're gushing about this movie. Whatever.
unrelated.
Alien. Okay, so we talked about the alien. We talked about that possibility with the Primrose connection, etc. What about you, Rach? Like in terms of the Primrose connection, do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh my God. Honestly, at this point, it's like I'm just willing to swallow any slightly believable theory. I'm like, sure, why not? Yep, sounds good. That's
Sounds
what
good.
they'll do.
Let's roll with that.
Let's roll with that. Yeah. At this point, I feel like literally anything could happen, and I won't be surprised. It hurts my brain to even try and think about theories because
Honestly, I'm right there
I
with
don't know.
you.
What's the point?
We also don't know nearly enough.
Yes, I don't have enough information to even form an educated theory. Where would I even start?
Unlike the list, which we now have more of a connection to what those names are on the list or who those names are on the list. And credit to Aiden, who
Yes.
really kind of showed me the way on this one. At Aiden _Atkin_ on Instagram, who is a Whispers to Remember. In our spoiler thread, which I finally read today because I finally watched the episode, he had mentioned, like there was a discussion about the people on the list, and now there's a little bit more relevance because Tyler Davis is at the bottom of it, but so is April, whom we meet in this episode. The discussion of the people who had to go to that large mansion house, as it's revealed, they are people who are desperate, whether it be debts have fallen in favor with the Commonwealth, whether it be not following the program, let's say. This could be like another class of people, unfortunately, who are looking for ways to escape poverty, even in a sense. We see that with Rosita and Daryl. Like, okay, it's not enough to be a soldier or effectively an armored cop. It's still bad. That was another indicator that, like, okay, even being in the trooper class, though it has its perks and maybe give you a little bit more, I feel like even that doesn't seem to be enough. Let's say if you have kids.
Also, it's one thing to be a single parent, right? Because you're only getting a single income.
Exactly. With obviously the inclusion of the deflation aspect, because we saw that the newspaper only cost 10 cents, and it seems like what Sebastian gives to Daryl at the end of it isn't a lot of money, but a sense, like if there is a lot of deflation, and this is like, let's say a stack of $100 bills, he may be set for a long while. So all of this to say that there's something to brewing as it pertains to the list, and we seem to have a nicer idea of what that list represents. Now the question really remains is, whereas before we couldn't even fathom who gave them the list, what it even means, now we at least know what it means. Tyler Davis is like, okay, Tyler Davis has done some shit, and now he's tasked along with these 30 other people who tried to get the money from the Cooper's house. Cooper, the prepper rich guy.
No, Cooper was the son of the prepper rich guy.
Oh, okay. Thanks for the clarification. But who do you think gave Connie that list? Because I think initially we thought Mercer. Or some people just said it. They say, oh, it's Mercer. He's getting wise. But like Mercer is along with the program. I want to know what you guys think first before I weigh in.
I was going to say something really stupid. I don't know why this popped in my head. I have no evidence as to why I think it's this person other than he just seems to be a shit stirrer. But what if it was Lance?
Well, that was what I was gonna say.
That's what I was.
Oh, good.
Say.
Okay, so I'm not alone. Okay.
So we're
He
all
just
stupid.
he seems like a shit stirrer.
I think it's more than that. But what do you think, Bridget?
Well, I wasn't really sure, and I was kind of. I guess this goes along with the spoiler thing and the whole. Jesus, I'm not trying to theorize anything because I'm just like, nope, just tell me the story.
You're
and
just in it.
I'm just gonna relish in this storytelling.
Yeah.
I don't need to try to come up with my own theories as to where things are coming from. It's fine. I just want to enjoy it. So part of me was kind of like, I don't know, I don't really care. Like, they'll tell me eventually. I don't need to worry about it.
They'll tell me.
So they better fucking tell me, because otherwise I will be
Yeah.
pissed. When people were saying Mercer, I was like, I guess I could see that. Like, he would know who was missing.
And I feel like he's only discovering this now, though. That's why I was like, I don't know, guys.
Well, and then
Yeah.
we also have to think about when this list was created, right? Like Bridget just said, if Mercer had put the list together, are these people that he noticed are missing, or did someone else put this list together and say, okay, here's a list of desperate people that I could lean on if I needed to?
From Lance.
I don't know.
So
Maybe it's
essentially.
Exactly.
What's her name?
Exactly.
Shira or whatever. Like,
You
maybe
mean
it's like
Shira or Maxine? Because
Shira. Maybe it's
Shira.
maybe
Shira.
Maybe it's Roman Calhoun. Like, maybe it's one of those.
oh well,
Sure.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It doesn't
They could be
necessarily
putting the
have
list
to
together.
be Lance. Like, it could be. I mean, he's got his hands in fucking everything, but it could
Right.
be.
He could just be
somebody else.
orchestrating it and saying,
Yeah.
he could tell Shira, hey, put together a list of people that we could
Lean on.
call on if we needed to. Yeah.
Right, but effectively, then it is Lance. I mean, even if Shira was the one who slid it under the door, essentially. But let's say, which means
I don't
we
know
mu-
that she would. I could see Lance doing that, though. Like,
Right.
actually sliding it under the door. I could see him giving Connie and Angel, wow, Kelly the list.
Yeah, I can see that too. I wanted to bring this up during the episode where we actually saw this, but I noticed the difference between where obviously Daryl and Rosita live, but also Connie, because she's not quite in the same kind of rich person neighborhood dwellings as everybody else. Because what we noticed from the upper class and lower class, let's just say, is that the upper class seem to have all those steel doors with the rivets and all that to indicate that it's a steel door. Everybody, rivets mean that. But Connie and Kelly don't have that. It's important in the context of who gets to visit those dwellings, let's say. So it could be somebody from, maybe it could be Roman Calhoun for all we know. He's a plumber, right? I don't think that's, I mean, look, it should be an upper class job. They get paid a lot of money, essentially, to do what they do. More to the point. So yeah, why do we think it's Lance, though? Specifically because, like, okay, I've heard shitstirrer, but I think it's crazier than that. It's something I kind of thought myself, but
I didn't have anything in my head, but now you're making me think about it. So
right. No, we have to.
let's assume this list of names are the people that Sebastian has sent in after this money.
Yes, that's exactly it. Okay.
This could be Lance's way, because we know he gives this letter to Connie and Kelly before Daryl and Rosita are handpicked for this assignment
right.
as well. So maybe Lance is trying to shine a light on what Sebastian's doing to put a stop to it without he himself having to intervene.
Does anybody know how many names are on the list?
I'm just trying to like remember what it looked
There's
like.
at least 3 names.
3? Oh,
Fucking
well, there
Jasmine.
were like 4 columns of names, you nerd.
She said
Yeah.
at least.
You're right. There were at least 3.
No,
there were like 3 or 4 columns
She's not
of
right.
names.
She's just a smartass.
So Mercer had
And right.
asked. He had asked. Was Alves and Castle?
Mm-hmm.
How many times how many people have gone in? And they said, I don't know,
Right.
30 to 40.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking that too, because when I'm picturing that list in my head, I would guess about 30 or 40 names were on there.
Okay,
That's
then
what it looks like to me.
Let me propose this idea then, because I did think of this during the end of the second watch of me going through this episode. So let's say Lance is trying to facilitate a revolution completely on his own. Say he's trying to fabricate one, right? Like everyone's fine, but he wants to run things, so he's going to try to overthrow the current government. Okay, so let's say he's utilizing, I don't know, his cousin's son is what I'm leaning towards. This relationship between him and Pamela. I think Lance and Pamela are related in some way. That's my personal opinion.
Oh, okay.
I think they're like
I
cousins.
didn't understand that
Oh.
at first.
I think they're
yeah,
like cousins.
cousins, okay.
Not siblings, but like
So you mean his
cousins.
like a
So like not a
first
nephew,
cousin
but like a nephew.
once
right?
removed. Right.
So let's say he uses him, and he says, like, your mom cut you off. Like, can you believe that? You need money. Like, so you should, there's money here, and you could send people to go get it. And they would do it because, like, you're a person of power. They're going to listen.
And he's like, yeah, you're right.
And so, like, what if he's manipulating
What a great idea
all of this? Like, I'm just like, and then he has all these people go missing. And so then what does Lance do? He makes up a little list. And then he gives it to a journalist, and he's like, look at what this fucker's doing over here.
Right.
Can you believe this? I'm not involved in anything. As I was watching, I was like, what if he is literally just creating everything here? The guns went missing. And then he's like sending out people that could be valuable to Pamela in the future. And he's like, oh, I'm going to send him out to get him killed.
Wait.
By the end of this,
The house or the guns, or just the house?
I'm saying the whole thing. Like, I'm saying he sent out Toby because he's like, Toby could potentially be a threat to me later.
Let's back up a bit. Just so in terms of the caravan, are you saying that, I'm just throwing this out there, are you saying that Leah is in bed with Lance in a sense?
No.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
saying he
Just
took
wanted
an
to-
opportunity to get rid of someone who could potentially be a threat to him later.
Namely Toby Carlson.
Yes.
Perhaps even Aaron and Gabe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe. But it seems
Depending on
like
how
he
south
is in a
things go.
weird way protecting our
The
group.
Commonwealth? Oh, he did seem that
protecting
way.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if he's like, I need them because they're going to come in and they're going to see all this horrible shit that's happening around me that I'm not involved in. And they're going to want to fight on my side. So I'm wondering if that's what he's trying to facilitate. Like I said, this is why I don't theorize, because like every time I say something, I'm like, yeah, this is it. This is fucking, I nailed it. And then like the next episode, I'm like,
I get
oh,
all
I'm completely
excited.
fucking wrong.
I'm gonna say
mind.
this.
yeah, I get
You're
all
not
excited and then I'm wrong.
Well, you're not alone though. I feel somewhat similarly, like that. Sorry, Jazz. There's like a pincer kind of thing where if you foment a revolution on one end, people, they're not quite falling in line. They don't really like what's going on here. But then you also give them a way out on this side, but then expose that way out. It's all Sebastian, apparently, or whatever. The fact that it's happening under Pamela's watch and nobody knows who's really in charge, the plumbers union, aka, then you've got it on both ends. You got discord in the community generally. Kind of like, and this, by the way, this reminded me of Negan's saviors in a sense. Like they were kind of getting on to get on. I am Negan, whatever. But who were the really people that were benefiting? The lieutenants, right? And that the fact that they're safe in an air-conditioned factory, wouldn't that be nice? But like otherwise, things are pretty shitty. And so that's what the lower class of the Commonwealth is. And on the other side, okay, you filter them on this side where like, oh, you can get out of this, but it's a suicide mission. Here's a list of all the things that happened under Pamela's watch. And now they can put a button on who was responsible for this, for funneling these poor people, like namely Sebastian. But like, look, in the context of politics, when you run that kind of opposition research, I'm going to use this example, so bear with me, and I don't usually use current events, but like, okay, what is the opposition research on like Hunter Biden, let's say? Okay, well, if we throw this information out to the public, well, they'd be less inclined to vote for him, right? So the same applies to Pamela Milton. You have this scenario where like, oh, your son is a piece of shit, and he's taking advantage of people who are too afraid of saying something to send them to their death. What kind of leader is that? Would you vote for a leader like that? Didn't he? First of all, even if she didn't know, she should have known. So I'm not thinking that far off from what you're thinking. That's why I wanted to name why Lance. Why is Lance giving the list?
The only kind of flaw in this is obviously he basically just readily admits his involvement in all this to Carol.
Mm-hmm.
Good that you said that. Okay. Mm-hmm. Why?
Why does he admit it?
We talked about this before, but why do you think Lance is involving Carol to this extent?
Do you think he's trying to like test the waters with Carol and see like how on board like she really is with him?
I'm on those lines.
I would have originally said it's because he sees similarities in her to himself. But the look on his face when she walks out of the office has me feeling a certain way. Like, now I'm not so sure. Like, that look on his face, like, at first I was like, okay, he's trusting her. He's giving her just enough information so that she will trust him back, right? In Lance's mind, this is what he's thinking. If I give her a little bit, she'll be more likely to trust me, and then, whatever. But then as soon as she walks out, he has that look on his face, and I'm like, oh, wait, oh.
Like the cat ate the canary. Like,
Yeah.
Satisfied.
yeah.
Yeah, like she bought it. That was the look on his face. She
Kind of
bought
like with
it.
Carlson. Remember when I said about Carlson?
Yeah.
But they're 20-year-old kids who died, and I feel really sad about it. And then he turns away and he goes, all right, let's do it. And then he goes, "Grr, grr," like in his head, he's going, "Grr, got him, fucking CIA guy,"
Yeah.
right? So like same thing with Carol, you're saying?
Yeah. Lance is a huge mystery to me. Every time I think I know where he's going or what his thought process is going to be, he's like, ha ha ha, just kidding.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, Lance, I'm here for it.
So I may have a couple things on that. So I'm going to start with this one thing and see if your mind starts racing on this one. One of the props that I noticed on his desk was this just out of place colored green apple. I don't know what it was. Yeah, I see your face, Rachel. But I was like, okay, what does that mean? Okay, let's start with some of the obvious things that we've even talked about in the show. So some of the things we've actually said in the show as it pertains to the key on Fear the Walking Dead. Green tends to represent like a poison or a rot, let's say. Right, well, the rotten core. There's an apple.
Core.
Right? Okay, cute. But then I kind of want to look at the symbology of a red apple versus a green apple. Why does that exist? Or is there some sort of symbology? And let's start with, how do green apples taste versus red apples? The green
Sour.
Tastes sour, right? It's
tart versus sweet.
right, tend to be young, underdeveloped. It's hard to kind of tell when they're right, exactly. So now the red ones, sweeter, developed, it gives you a warm feeling in your tummy if you're not allergic to them, like me, sort of, somewhat. But they tend to be sweeter.
Because red is always better.
Yeah, exactly. Right, Bridget and Rachel?
Right.
So that's the obvious, right? Okay, well, Lance is a little tart to the taste. And red, and whatever. Okay,
Who's
so
tasting Lance? Arr.
I would.
Anyway,
I read this somewhere, mrmetaphorism.blogspot.com. In a 2012...
Sounds so
real
legit.
official.
Such a legit site.
It definitely isn't. But anyway, so he
I
says...
was routed
is
through
this
the I was
dodgywebsites.com?
routed through the CDC website to that one, when I was looking for stuff.
What?
Conspiracy theory stuff. Right? You're going to say right, Dave? Bitch?
Am I right, Dave?
Dave, CNN, right? Clinton News Network, right? Oh, what are you talking about? Meanwhile, yeah. Okay. Inside joke. Sorry, everybody.
Sorry, guys.
We were passed by the CNN
It was
building.
the most official website I could think of at that second.
What he says, and I thought this was kind of cool. Green apples represent the mind, because he's tying this into kind of like the Garden of Eden, the forbidden fruit, which technically was a pomegranate, but Judaism aside, green kind of represents the mind, while red represents the heart, let's say. And I'll just read what I wrote, because a mind without heart thinks without recognizing for whom he is fighting, let's say. AKA, is the cost worth it, right? Like, I want what I want, and this is the smart move, but who does it hurt along the way, right? Okay, now, a heart without mind is sure to fail. So, like Herschel with the gun, about to shoot Negan. So there's a heart, there's a sense of passion, there's like feelings. You can't go in all feelings, you can't go in all in the mind, because the mind might not think about who it hurts along the way. So I kind of like that, because there's something to be said about the green apple that is Lance. And I'm trying to give him a little bit of credit, in a sense of like, okay, I think in his head, I'm playing devil's advocate here. Well, Lance being the devil. Could it be that maybe he does get the big picture, but he's not thinking about what it costs for the people involved or ready to kind of give themselves? Obviously, the gut feeling is that this guy sucks, and he's willing to do anything to get what he wants in a self-centered way. I like to ignore my gut feeling for a minute and go like, okay, but what if he actually believes that? What if he is the true believer that he describes to Carol in that other episode while they're going to the poppy fields? So I think to myself, well, what if he's just this personification of what it takes? And he's making these moves. He's thinking 5 moves ahead in the chessboard, let's say, at least. And he's got this all lined up to exactly the way he wants. Even if this op fails, like I was saying in the last episode, even if this op fails with Toby Carlson and he dies, it's still a win for him. If he succeeds, it's still a win for him. If Leah Shaw hijacks a caravan, it's still a win for him. To that other thing that he mentions in the other episode, like we don't even know what the other thing is. What is that? That's a whole other thing that he has on the chessboard that we don't know nothing about. So all of this to say, what if he believes in the shit that in his plan? What if he believes it? I say all this only to kind of give you a minute to think about things.
I do agree. I do think Lance genuinely is seeing the bigger picture and has this image in his head that he's just determined to get to. But at the same time, you've got to think of it like basically any villain we've ever seen in The Walking Dead. They always think that they're doing the right thing. Like when Negan was being Negan, he thought he was doing the right thing. When the governor was that's a bad example. But you know what I mean.
Yeah,
He thought he was doing the right thing when
Actually-
he shot all of his people in the face.
Well, no, I had a conversation with my husband about the governor earlier today. I was talking about something about like how the villains all get humanized eventually. And I was like, well, not really the governor because he's like crazy or whatever. But he was like, well, no, the
Legit.
governor's character like knew that he had to be that bad guy to make it in the world. So was he really wrong? In his mind, he was like, this is the way that I make it in this world. If I'm this bad guy.
Not even we. Is
Yeah.
that
Right. It was
Yeah.
all about him.
So I just thought that was an
his
interesting
survival.
perspective to have. He was justified in his own mind.
because that's the world, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Lance is the same way. I think Lance is willing to break as many eggs as he needs for a perfect omelet.
But okay, so let's talk about the omelet, right? Because what does he want? Is it for the good of all, or is it just for like the Philip thing? Is it just for that's what it takes for me to survive in this world? Because I don't know.
Lance also strikes me as the kind of person that would be in the mindset that if this is the image of the world that I want, this is how I think the world should run, and everyone will be happy for that. He is making the decisions for himself based on what he thinks is the best course, while also like
You mean for his own
kind of
just pure
thinking
ambition?
about. Yeah. I think having people there is important as well because who's going to be there to admire and clap for him? You know what I mean? He wants that. He wants the attention. He wants the admiration. So the people are very important to his overall plan.
I mean, in some ways, every leader, their whole like reason to grasp for power is because they think that they can do a better job and be a
better job.
leader. When being a leader, the whole job is to act in sort of what's supposedly the best interest of keeping your people alive and such. Going back to like Negan, he genuinely believed that this was the best thing and that he was keeping people alive. He didn't really acknowledge the fact that he was an ass.
Right.
Yeah. Well, he was keeping his people alive, and it was working till Rick came and fucked it all up.
It was working. It might not have been like right or perfect, but
Right. But it was working.
So maybe Eliza's sort of a little bit more right about her comparison of Lance, like a pussy version of Simon, because Simon just wanted the power.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying this doesn't map on 100%.
But like Simon, he wanted the power because he thought that that was what was best for his people. Like even Simon, it wasn't a purely selfish move. He was like, let's cut our losses so that we, as the saviors, can continue to live and go elsewhere.
Okay, I can take that point. I'll take that point because with Simon it was like our people. Let's just focus on who we've saved, right? Okay, because that didn't occur to me. I thought me in my head it just seemed like he wanted power or he wanted to do things his way for the sake of doing it, which is why I was comparing him to Lance because it could be pure ambition. Oh, I could do this better if I was the man. I would do things this way. He's like the classic grunt, like most of us, who looks at their boss and says, what a fucking asshole. Meanwhile, like the boss has all this shit to do and sometimes you have to be compartmentalized and have some sort of professional distance and because you're doing all these things that these guys don't know about. These guys can't appreciate, let's say. I'm looking at things from both sides. Like obviously Simon doesn't know what it takes to lead or Simon doesn't know or doesn't even care about Negan's philosophy. These are my people. Lance could be in a somewhat similar position. He could be looking at Pamela going, I could do this better. Like he's seeing all the flaws, but he's not seeing all of the things that she has to do, or maybe she feels she has to do to keep things running. Like, oh, Lance, this is bigger than you think it is, let's say. So looking at things from Pamela's point of view, I'm trying, because we don't know much. Yeah. But yeah, and he could be just saying it, and with the additional component of this drive and ambition, which Pamela mentions, it could just be pure ambition. And he's so driven that, and this is something that we've also said on the show, well, now that you've gotten it, now what? Because now that's the whole other side of the coin. Yeah. Like now that you have it, what are you going to do with it? Did you think that far ahead? It's not just about conquest, it's about maintenance. And it's not all that's cracked up to be. Anyway, so I just wanted to mention that because that's a really good point. Could just be all ambition. Let's move back to Carol and Lance, because why does Lance show his belly?
It's really hard to say what Lance is thinking because we obviously know way more about Carol than Lance does. I want to sit here and be like, oh, well, he sees her as a potential asset and like she could do so many things for him. But he doesn't know that about her yet. Like we know Carol's history, but Lance doesn't know fully what she's capable of. So I
think she tipped her hand though, right? Like she tipped her hand by like inviting herself into his world. And he was like, I'm impressed.
Well, and not only that, she took a huge risk by getting out of the Commonwealth's walls undetected and back in undetected. And she got this fancy ass wine, without getting a scratch on her. Maybe just that thing that she did was enough for him to sit up straight and really look at her.
That's interesting too, because he was testing her with Modo as well. I think he knew the answer.
Mm-hmm.
He says, this asshole. Question is how much of the answer he knows. And I have even a feeling that he knows that these ladies are being abused. But like, as long as they're playing their part, everybody's got to do their part for the Commonwealth.
Playing their part. I think it's safe to say not just the women, but everyone under Modo's care is being abused.
Right, but particularly because Modo looks like that kind of guy. I'm kidding. Whatever. Like, he just really, really gives women special attention. Mother puss bucket. So I think he knows about that. And I think, in a way, I'm not saying he's training his replacement, but I think maybe like the apple, because, even like what she's wearing, like Carol, the red colors and stuff like that. Like, if we're talking about green apples versus red apples, maybe he sees her as the true believer. He maybe sees himself as the, not necessarily like a maverick or a mercenary. He maybe seeing himself as a means to an end. I'm going on the theory for now that he's of the mind. But if he sees that she's the heart, if he sees women suffering, or those women suffering, and he points it out to her, well, now I'm doing this for the right reasons. It's almost as if he needs somebody who gets him enough, but adds this heart component to it. Like, I am the mind, but I need somebody to call me. I need somebody to give me a reason why I'm doing this. Do you know what I mean? Is that making sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there's a heart component that he's missing that he needs from Carol.
Maybe he just has a crush on her.
Listen.
Who doesn't?
Who does it? Exactly. Exactly.
Simultaneously, that's also what I was kind of thinking. Like the kind of like, who wants to be alone? And I did recognize that on this watch as well. Like, God, man, it must be so hard at the time. It does go back to the saviors. Like, we were saying this in our season 8 coverage so much when Carol finally got me turned around on like, okay, Negan might be doing this for some altruistic reason. It must be so lonely. You're telling these people what to do, and you're trying to explain why you're doing it, but it gets lost in all the shit. But it must be so nice for that one person who gets it. Like maybe Carl, let's say. But it must be so nice for somebody who gets it and believes in it. So maybe he's thinking Carol is able to see why he's doing what he's doing. Somebody needs to run this place. And I seem to be the only one that knows how this place works enough, because the system is shit. We built the system and it sucks. Here I am. I'm filling in the gap and nobody sees me. In walks Carol, like, I know exactly what you're talking about. Look at all the shit I burned David and Karen because nobody was going to do it. This is the prison, if you forgot. And I was very upset about this. But regardless of how you feel about it, she feels like she knows exactly what needs to be done. And there's a certain type of person that can do it. And so he's right. But she's learned so much over the course of being in the zombie apocalypse that we have to balance the scales.
I think if Carol had met the wrong people first, she could have been a villain.
Yeah, I like this. Okay, let's focus on Carol's face at the end, because, Lance gives a face, which I didn't notice at all, because Melissa McBride was too busy acting. She was like, like, you get me. And she's like, and she turns around, she's like, oh, this motherfucker. Right? Like that kind of face. Toby Carlson, Lance is like, oh, got him. And Carol's like, oh, this motherfucker. Oh, I gotta deal with this shit all the time. It's like Danny Glover in Lethal Weapon. Oh, I'm too old for this shit, right?
I don't know if it's an actual thought or just a feeling, because I saw her go, ha ha ha. That's all. Like,
can you describe that to the audience that isn't watching your face?
I don't know
that's
if
lovely?
I can. I don't know if I can. You just got to come to the video recording. What are those called? What is that? Not the
YouTubes.
The YouTubes. Come to the YouTubes to see my face.
Nerds. It was more of like an angry grumble, I guess, or like
a very hard eye roll.
I think there might have been some like genuine shock that Lance knew what was going on, almost.
From us, at least.
No, I mean from Carol, like a bit of a, he was involved kind of thing. Like almost thinking that Lance maybe wasn't aware of this situation, and then being like, oh, shit, like he is as bad as I think he is.
Can we go actually a little bit, just take a small rewind? When he found out that it was one of his people, because I don't think Rosita and Daryl were part of the plan. I think Sebastian saw that Daryl wasn't quite as enthused about him. I'm good with the Riders, right? Right, Daryl? He's like, good for you. Golf claps, you dumb soft bitch. So like,
good stuff.
Right, good stuff. Yeah, big old Twinkie. With a cream filling.
Didn't he do like a thumbs up? Like
He did a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Just can't even pretend. I mean, he's trying. He's trying. But I think that was just Sebastian, like, just saying, how about we get these guys? He bailed me out of a situation. Let's see if he can this motherfucker. Anyway, so when Lance finds out that it was one of Carol's people, or like Daryl and Rosita, I think, and stop me if you think the same, I think he was actually concerned for a sec.
That's why I said the thing about how he's protecting our group. Because
I did see genuine shock.
That was very clear to me in that moment. Yeah, he seemed upset. Like, what is this idiot doing? Why would he send
and like they all made it back, right?
He's like, whoa.
Yeah.
What did Sebastian do?
He did. Yeah, and he did ask about their safety before he asked about the money. So he
Which
did. I saw genuine
counts for
shock.
something.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Okay, so now why do we think that? Why is he concerned for our group? What role do they have to play? Let's say if it's a role, but could it be like, okay, these people get it or something?
I think they're very useful to him in some way. I'm not sure what exactly that way is, but they're useful to him still, and so that's why.
I also thought that Sebastian had picked Daryl and Rosita to do this mission because they had already killed 40 people. So, and he didn't like the way Daryl just treated him. So he's like, yeah, go get my money, bitch. And if you don't make it, oh well.
That's exactly
Nobody's
what
gonna
I
know
thought
that
it
you
was.
saved Tyler Davis and gave him to me too. There's like that liability.
It wasn't like I'm gonna show you. It was like fuck. If you die, great. Then I don't have to deal with your shit anymore.
I'm just like Uncle Lance.
It's almost like the same thing that we were talking about last episode about Lance sending Toby Carlson. It's like, if you die, I'll be happy. If you're successful, I'll be happy.
Right,
it's the same thing with Sebastian and Daryl. It's like, if you die, I'm happy. If I get my money, I'm happy. It's a win-win.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me throw a wrench into this situation, because I only thought of this as we were talking. We're all seeming to see that Lance values our group. That is the general feeling.
I think so, yeah.
Now, what if the role that they have to play is the villain? Because we all said, me.
He wants our group to be the villain? Is that what you are saying?
Yeah, hold up a minute. Yeah, because I got something here.
Okay.
I want to roll with it. So you've got the discord of the people, generally speaking, except for the upper echelons, which there seem to be that many. There may be a lot, but not as many as the lower class, right? Then you got this side. You got okay, let's funnel some of that discord into saving the money. Let's say, okay, now we have a plan to implicate Pamela via Sebastian. Okay, now there's a third element, a common enemy. Aside from Milton, we need to seal this deal and get these people involved in all these plans. So now we have a threat from within. Well, let's say, we let in these immigrants, let's say, and look what they did. They immediately went to the corrupt government or the corrupt underbelly of this thing. And maybe even getting Carol involved is another way of, because you saw his face, like, I got her, right? Because I didn't see it, but you guys saw it. Like, I got her, Carlson, but also Carol.
He thinks, yeah.
So what if?
So he's setting our group up to be the scapegoat,
right? Because I mean, look, they involved.
That would make a lot of sense.
Why involve Aaron and Gabe, people you don't necessarily know? Even though, okay, they went through intake. Okay, we have a good intake process. Maybe, I don't know. Let's say.
Well, I love that he said, "Don't worry, they'll fall in line." And I'm like, what? What traits about them seem like they're gonna fall in line? Like. What about Gabe and Aaron makes them seem like, oh yeah, don't worry, they'll get on board. They'll be fine with you killing people. It's not a big deal.
Well, because they have children to threaten, right? They'll threaten their kids if they're not in line.
An additional pressure, let's say. What do you think about this? Because it's not something you would necessarily see coming, right? Because he's being so nice to our group. He's kind of like letting them in on how this shit works a little bit here and there, giving Ezekiel his surgery, like even though he's not responsible for the thing, he still benefited from it, right? You're still roped into it by association. We're setting things up here in a way that you don't think is going to happen. But then, like, what if you turned that around and said, oh, they're the villains. They're the villains of the Commonwealth. So now you've got a trifecta. You've got this like three-way tie of like all the things that Lance can solve. That's crazy shit, huh?
Well, that's not entirely unlike the comics either, because, Daryl's kind of the one that really brings the revolution to the forefront. Like, I feel like there were people there wanting to revolt, but it wasn't until Dwight showed up that he was like, yeah, come on, people, let's do this. And a whole bunch of shit went down, and Rick was like, no, don't. And then when it was too late, he's like, okay, you were right. But I don't know. So I mean, they definitely could be setting the stage for that. I don't know who the Dwight is going to be in this scenario. I mean, I
Right.
have an idea, but
Which is the question we keep asking, right?
Right.
But
But
so-
they may be setting the stage for this revolt. Yeah.
Right. So instead of like a 2-dimensional version of the story, we're getting this like tri-dimensional kind of like 50,000 foot view, a 30,000 foot view of
Oh, yeah.
like the guts of how this revolution is forming and the rotten core within. So
Right. And what's really pushing it. Mhm.
Right, and it's good to know this because it feels like we're getting like more of an impetus or more of like a impossible situation to solve, which is going to be solved at some point. But you have to build it up to where it's like, how are they going to get out of this? Like this guy's so smart. He's not a dummy, right? We have to go back to that question too.
Right.
Lance is who we're referring to, sorry.
Yeah, but when I say Lance is a dummy, you know what I mean, right? Like he's very smart in his planning. When I say he's a dummy is he thinks if he does all the right things, he knows how this is going to end. And it's not going to end how he thinks. He's not going to get what he wants. So that's why I keep calling him a dummy. But with all of this, revolt stage setting going on, I like that we're now seeing Mercer switch his perspective and he is seeing things from the other side. He's seeing our group.
I see you.
He's like, okay, I get you. Yeah. Oh, I thought you were robbing this house, but really this is what's going on. And obviously it was true, and he believes that now. So I think if Lance tries to make an enemy out of our group, I think Mercer will be the one to stand up and be like,
Who do the people love?
Right.
I love that segue. Oh, that was a pro move there, Rachel. Okay, so
It's like I've been doing this for a while or something.
I know, you got the feel for it and everything. Let's talk about that a little bit. I did not believe. Okay, I say things sometimes. In the last episode, I said the next episode is going to be Mercer's turning point. It's got to be because, and my reference to that was what's going on in Jericho, the apartment complex, right? Is what I'm going to call it, Jericho. So I said the next episode, he's got to have this turning point because this is coming up to a point. Because if he doesn't, then he's going to side with the Commonwealth. He's going to say, I am forced in a situation where these people killed all my soldiers, right? These apartment dwellers, Jericho dwellers. That can't have no consequences. The one thing you don't see at the hilltop in the 6 month time jump, which is fastly approaching, probably the next episode, but next episode, like in terms of time, it's coming fast. They're probably going to be there in 12 hours, let's say, or 24 even. Mercer is not there. So this is happening so fast that Mercer can't even get there. Interesting. So this is all happening and it has to happen very fast. Now, Lance seems to be able to get there. He's there with Carol. The last scene that we see is him trying to raise him again on the radio, and he's like, it's not happening. So he must have left immediately to go to the apartment complex before anybody was the wiser. All of this to say what? Finally, good. Mercer has a turning point in this episode. He's like, fuck this shit. Now, I don't know how quickly he wants to get involved because in the next episode, there is allusions of like possibly Maxine talking to Mercer, but it may be even Eugene. Let's just say that. I'm just throwing things out there. But Mercer's obviously at this reckoning right now. Like, I can stop here and go no further and just say, they didn't make it. Or he can go further and go, I can't stand this shit. And he's still too far away from the hilltop to get involved in that situation, let's say.
I think that it's possible that Mercer's kind of been, on this edge for a while, but it might be like the first time that he's actually like acted on his thoughts, if that makes sense. So rather than it being like a turning point, it was just like a fuck this, I'm done kind of thing.
Like done, or like he had to release some pressure from all the times he's had to go.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
But then fall back?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he'll fall back. I think as it currently stands, like, I don't think that's like his turning point. But I feel like, the situation that arises next, or the information that he finds out next, could definitely be his turning point.
Once you see it for what it is, you can't unsee it. That sort of thing, right?
Yeah, you can't unring the bell.
Right. Is that the next episode's name? No, I'm kidding. Should be. How satisfying was it to see Mercer explode and kill Alves and Castle?
On a scale of 1 to 10?
Very.
Yeah, sure.
12.
I'd say at least an 8.7 recurring.
What about you, Bridget? What do you got?
No.
I have no feelings.
Beep,
it was
bop,
fine,
beep,
I
bop,
guess.
boop.
Mercer makes me dead from the waist down. I gotta tell you.
No, it was great. It was great. I don't know what happened if I was like not paying attention the first watch, but like it hit me on the second watch. Like I was like, holy shit, he just killed those guys. Like
He just murdered.
I don't know
his
what I was
soldiers.
doing the first time I watched the episode, but the second time I was like, oh my god, that's awesome. I was happy with it.
Murder is cool. Yeah.
I love how unaffected Carol was too. She's just like, oh yeah, yep, that
Seems
happened.
about right. Like,
He,
oh yeah,
he did a thing,
if
That
you
kinda
weren't
makes
gonna
sense,
do
though,
it,
right?
I guess I would have eventually. So
right?
yeah.
I was really excited. Everything else aside, he did the right thing. Even if Carol and Daryl weren't there, these guys were terrible. And he's like, we don't listen to you. So what does that mean they
fucking
work directly
sucked.
for Sebastian?
Yeah, I wrote
Is that what that
down.
means?
Like I was like, what does that mean? They don't work
Yeah.
for Mercer.
Or do they work directly for Lance?
Right.
But,
That
like,
when they said that,
why
I thought,
would
well, who
Lance
is
have
your
his
commanding
own,
officer then?
Like military people.
I think that Lance may have turned like a portion of like the military onto his own side is kind of my general feeling, because like you know how he was sending the guns off that Leah intercepted in the first place. Well, if these guns were going to some secret project, then these soldiers had to be of knowledge of this secret project, which could be one of the reasons that Lance was so annoyed.
I guess I thought Alva's and Castle at least were, I don't know, like Sebastian's personal detail.
I guess that would be my
That's
best
what I was thinking,
guess
too.
as to what it was. Like they
Yeah.
were almost like a secret service.
Yeah, that's kind
Shitty
of what I
Secret
thought.
Service,
Like they
jeez.
so they would take their orders directly from Sebastian instead of Mercer, which
Even that seems like really weird to me.
right, you would still think that they would have a commanding officer that they still need to report to,
They
not
do.
just Sebastian or
Here's
Lance.
the thing. We need to take a couple steps back because, okay, is Lance in a higher position than General Mercer? I have to concede that I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think
Right.
Mercer's rank would be higher than Lance's authority level.
I think he's just under Pamela Milton. I mean, generals tend to be working for the commander in chief. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter whether these guys answer to somebody else and that they're in a higher position. It doesn't. Sebastian's just a person under the nepotism. I'm Pamela's son, so you are my bodyguards. You do the things I want you to do. I pay you for it. And
well, that's assuming that they're taking their direction right from Sebastian. Like, I would be more concerned if there was some sort of higher ranking officer out there than Mercer. Because if these guys aren't taking direction from Mercer, then I hope it's Sebastian and not some other higher officer with authority equal
Right.
to or greater than Mercer's.
Yeah, I don't think there is. But see, the thing is, what I'm thinking is that's not how the Commonwealth really works. It's kind of like what Sharon D said in her video. As long as people do their part, or sorry, not do, but play their part.
Play their part.
To accent the do versus, which also plays into their ads. Do your part. You know, join the Commonwealth or the Commonwealth Army, let's say.
Yeah.
But play your part, which is what Lance says. So you have the appearance of being a general or whatever you are. But how does this place really run? It's whose bread is butter. The right people, Lance, Sebastian, even Pamela, because they can give you the money or whatever it is, perks, surgeries, whatever it is. That's how it really runs. So you're not going to listen to General Idiot Mercer, who doesn't know what's going on, because he doesn't. Until like somebody points it out, maybe there was somebody in room M33. Okay, maybe, I don't know. I'm just some idiot nurse person. Okay, I'm just some dummy. Okay, maybe there was, but I guess you don't know, dummy Mercer. Okay, sorry,
So who do we think? I mean, I'm inclined to say Lance made that call then, in which case, does he have more authority than Mercer?
The point I'm making is it doesn't matter about authority. It's about real authority. And Sebastian has it. If you look at him the wrong way, he will, and he'll get away with it. He'll disappear people, clearly, from the 30. So that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter if it's Lance or Sebastian, let's say. These guys are like, they know the truth. And they're saying, I don't answer to you. You think you're a general? What the... Get out of my face. If I get in trouble, Sebastian's got my back. Clearly not, because later on you see him be like, oh, they didn't make it? Oh, well, money, 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 money. Right?
It wasn't even, oh well, he just didn't address it beyond that point.
Yeah, he just made a face that said, oh, well. It's like, okay, let's move on.
Do you think he'll appoint Daryl and Rosita as his new personal detail?
I wrote that in my notes. I wonder myself.
Keep your enemies close, right?
But more like, I'll say, it's the last thing, but is it the last thing? Clearly, I was not faithful to Castle and Alves back there. Clearly, they thought I would have his back. If anything happens to us, Sebastian's going to hear. Well, clearly not. It's like Negan and the Maggie's promise and all that. Promises mean nothing to Maggie. It's like, no, I'm going to kill you. Yeah, I'll say I'm not going to kill you so I can learn how to be a whisperer. Blah, blah, blah. But then later I'll kill you. As a whisperer, maybe even. And I'll dance on your little corpse. So what does a promise... And even Rick shows this. By the way, a man's only good as word. And then he'll go back on his word. He's done this twice.
Many times.
Yeah, at least that I can remember. Can I just say, when Mercer did that, as satisfying as it was to see Mercer do that, I immediately got worried for him. Immediately. I was just like...
Why?
Well, because what does it mean for the most trusted person to... Like, what if another soldier hears somehow that he shot another soldier? Like, how do you trust somebody over you?
I think you could argue it was treason.
True.
Don't you think if another soldier heard about what Mercer did, they would, first of all, know who Mercer is and say they must have really deserved it because this man's not going to murder someone. So they needed some killing.
Also, assuming that they obviously heard this from Carol, Daryl, or Rosita because they're the only people there. Mm-hmm. Any one of them three characters, if they did for some reason feel the need to share it, they would provide the context.
Good point.
Yes.
This is why I say this, though, because what we'd said earlier, I don't know who said this exactly, but what if Lance had a cadre of soldiers that were kind of in his pocket, let's say, or involved in special projects? Now, I don't think so, because the soldiers just do what they're told, and if Lance is the one telling it, all right. But what if? Now, it reaches their ears, however way it reaches it, right? Like you said, 3 people, who's going to say anything of our people? But if it does, okay, then those soldiers are kind of like, what's this guy think he is? Now all of a sudden he's coming online, Mercer. But then they also get like sus. They're like, okay, am I going to be next? Oh, we got to take this guy out. Do you know what I mean? I know this is like a stupid scenario, but like the corrupt soldiers hear this and they're like, oh, this is not good for us. Now he's coming online. Now he might come after us. Scary Mercer's going to kill us. So what do? We kill him first. That's my immediate gut reaction. Obviously, you think about this a little more, like you guys did, and then maybe it falls apart.
This is where the comic books could kind of.
Oh.
Yeah.
Are you not gonna say?
I'm gonna take my headphones out if you do, because I'm in the process of reading them. So.
Okay. Well, let's not say anything. So let's just say there is hints of that sort of thing happening in the comic books. Just for clarity, I haven't read the comic books. I just want the audience to know that I haven't. So I'm just saying things now. Let's go back to Jericho. Well, there is a mirror between what Mercer does to what Aaron does to Carlson, as badass as it was, and the fact that we don't see bullet holes, whatever. But there's a mirror. There's like, okay, you are kind of a traitor, Carlson. You fell back into your tracks as a CIA guy, but didn't care about human life. You are sullying the promise of the Commonwealth by going after the wrong people, let's say. You killed a lot of people to try to get what you wanted, and you still didn't get what you wanted anyway. You proved yourself as someone who just doesn't even care. Like, if these people all die, burn it to the ground, let's bury it. CIA. So Aaron just like, I'm still here. What, are you going to kill me too? I am of your Commonwealth. So what the fuck, dude? So let's go back to something that he says just before Aaron shoots him. And it's the Serenity Prayer, because obviously, or not so obviously, Toby Carlson's sober. And I just want to remind everybody what the Serenity Prayer is. He only says the last bit of it.
I say this every day.
You're not sober, though, Garf Cart. But why do you say that? No. Is there a reason why you say that?
The Serenity Prayer, it's just really good to keep with you and remember,
it's a good prayer.
Yeah, when you're feeling overwhelmed. Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change.
Courage to change the things I can.
Yes, and wisdom to know the difference.
That's the last part that Toby Carlson says.
Because you need to be aware, you need to know what you have control over and what you don't. So
right.
That's why I tell myself every day. When I start feeling stressed out and overwhelmed with everything, I have to concentrate on the things that I actually have control over.
Right. Why do you think Carlson says it in this moment? I'm kind of curious. I want to poke people's brains on this one.
I mean...
And the wisdom to know the difference. Toby Carlson.
He knew he was caught in that moment. Well, backs up against not a wall, but the edge of a fucking building. And he's just like,
I'm on the
well, and now I know. Wisdom to know the difference, because I cannot change this moment.
What is it exactly though that he knows now? Well, now I know they're turncoats or
no, that
or you're one of
that
them.
He's in
or...
a position to not win at this moment.
He can't change. Yeah.
Okay.
He can't
To
change
accept
the
the things you
situation.
cannot change. But I like that he specifically says that, and the wisdom to know the
difference. Right, because he was trying to change something at that apartment building, but it was always going to go this way.
Okay, that's why I say it, because like there's so many ways to interpret that particular thing.
Oh yeah,
like,
and I think everybody's going to see it a little bit different.
That's a squawking deadism. It's like, well, you can see it this way, and you're probably both right, or neither of you are right, but good try. But yeah. You could even look at it as like, okay, oh, you're one of them. You're always going to be one of them. Or it could be, like you said, this was always going to end up like this, let's say. I barked up the wrong tree, let's say, or something like that. I almost like to think of it as, you could even say that about Lance, let's say. He and Lance. Oh, I was sent here. This is not about what he said it was about. Maybe he figured out that he was tricked, or that they never had the guns to begin with, or whatever it is. Maybe he was just thinking Lance, oh, that Lance. Fuck, I should have known. Like the wisdom to know the difference. I should have known.
Lance can't be sure that they don't have the guns, right?
But even himself could be like, oh, is he a trustworthy? Because remember, he's like threatening his life before he goes out on this mission. Do you like breathing, Lance? Do you like live? He says, do you like living? Do you? So like, I'm even tempted to say that even as a CIA operative, you get orders that aren't 100% revealed to you. They say it's because of this and this, but you don't really get the whole story. But it turns out it was that. How many times has a CIA operative been sent somewhere to do a thing, and you find out later that, oh, it was to do this whole other thing that, had you known about that, you would have maybe voiced concerns, but you don't really do that because you're a CIA operative. So I wonder if that's even part of it too. Like,
you just do your part.
Right. Do your
Anyone
part.
have experience in the CIA can confirm or deny this?
Well, let's just say this.
Opening that up to the viewers. That's not you, Dave.
If they did, they'd be... But that's kind of goes to my point, which is more like, how many times in government do you receive orders, or do you receive a directive? And who knows? A paper slides on your desk and you don't know the reason for it. You're just supposed to do your job. Analysts, be it person in the field, whatever it is. And then you're like, but the wisdom to know the difference, the wisdom to know what I'm doing. So I wonder what's going through Toby Carlson's mind, which makes him such an interesting character, even though he's gone. To see this almost like a relic. It is like a relic of the past coming to haunt the present that is the zombie apocalypse. The CIA operative, what good are you? What is it for? And it's such a good mirror to what's going on with Mercer right now and that whole situation. Like, I know what it's for. Now you die, Castle and Alves. Now you die. Because otherwise, he would have been just like Toby Carlson. He would have been receiving orders, completely ignorant and not online. And how close, or let's say even this, how many times has Mercer possibly done a Toby Carlson thing, not even known it? And maybe we'll get allusions to it in the next coming episodes. Like, it could have been him. Could have just been him. He and Toby Carlson could be the same person, and he didn't even know it. And now he's thinking about all the things he's had to do under somebody's orders. It's a thinker. Because it kind of makes you sympathize a little bit with Toby Carlson. Just a little bit. Because it's like, okay, I'm just doing what I was told to do. I know he's a shitbag, whatever. He sucks. But then, Mercer could be in the same shoes. Anyway, so I have to do that.
Toby was following orders, but he seemed to really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Oh, you feel that adrenaline with dopamine? Urgh. God, we're still thinking about that episode. I got to tell you, though, this is a total side note. I don't even know if this can make the episode. I didn't write that much, I got to say.
This was a really straightforward episode, I felt like. Like, it was just one thing after the other. There wasn't a lot left to the imagination because it really was just like a wrapping up of the previous episode, I felt like.
I found that I still wrote a lot of notes, but reading back on them now, like, they're absolutely worthless.
My notes
when you're writing things down,
when
you're writing things down because you think you should be writing things down.
Yeah.
But like,
just to remember.
You're not actually writing meaningful things down.
No.
Like Ian
They might be
walling
meaningful in a few weeks.
Maybe.
Well, like Ian walling up the doors so that they didn't know it was a secret room. I don't know if you caught that. Little details you kind of miss on second.
Oh, yeah. The super duper secret hiding place that no one could ever see beyond the clothing rack. Like, really?
Well, and I love that Carlson stood there and looked down and was like, there's footprints into this closet. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like that was purely timing, luck. And I thought that during the episode, I was like, had this gone any other fucking way? Like, this is pure 100% luck.
Pure TV.
Yeah.
I'm with Jasmine.
Yeah.
It's pure television, and
is,
you
it is.
love it, you little assholes.
Yep.
Yeah. And the only thing I thought
do.
was really interesting was just the way that Negan interacted with Herschel. That was like,
Oh, Rachel, what's that? What happened? Did it give you the feels?
it was hard to watch, and it was hard to see such a young kid to like piece it together on his own. It was a rough watch. And then I even wrote in my notes, Maggie comes back, right? At the very end of the episode. And she's like, what did he say to you? And then there's just this really long pause and look
Stare
at him.
at Negan.
And I just wrote next to it, I'm like, awkward. Then they transition into another conversation. And I was like, well, wait a second.
What was that?
Wait a second. No, like, tell your mom what just happened, dude. Like, tell her what happened. Like, you pieced it together and you know that that's the guy that killed your dad. And this is a big deal. Tell her.
Negan's talking to him. He's not talking back. He's staring at Negan.
Yeah.
Maggie's saying, what did he say to you? He's still staring
Yeah.
at Negan. He's not looking at her.
Honestly, I was just distracted because Maggie, I'm sorry, darling, but if you were a real mother, you would have come in and immediately hugged your child, not squatted down and got right in his face. Like, no, you're wrapping your arms around your kid. Sorry. That was my only thought.
Well,
Hug your
especially
child.
since you left your kid
The mother of the audience.
With
of
the guy.
the panel.
with the guy who
Yeah.
killed his
Exactly.
dad. So, like, yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
I agree. That was
Where's the love and affection?
it was maybe a misstep on the part of the writers and the people that block the scenes and stuff.
I'm not so sure. But Jasmine, what do you think?
I think it's just like, pure like anger really. But like not just at Negan, but also maybe a bit at Maggie for not telling him.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
what
there
Jasmine.
was guilt there on Maggie's end. Is that what your thought was, Dave?
It's exactly what I was thinking. But further,
So even more reason for Maggie to come in and try to hug Herschel and let him shrug her off.
no, that would break her heart. But
Yes, but it would drive the point home. Like, why wouldn't you tell me?
No,
you know,
see,
like
here-
he's upset with her.
there's a specific reason why you don't want to, why you do want to bury the lead on that, because you want to leave people on a certain line. This is more for us than it is for like what would realistically happen. I'm assuming. Obviously, this is the show, people. I'm looking at a Herschel that's staring at Negan, and you feel this. It could be anger. It could be focus, like to mirror Lance in a sense, but the red apple, right? The feelings, not the green apple, which is Lance. But I see just a focused Herschel that doesn't show too much. Maybe a little like his mom, because she was shut off and all that stuff. It brings me back to asshole Herschel. Okay, and I think by now Maggie knows Kids in the Apocalypse, and that hers definitely is one. Because kids in the apocalypse, they're kids in the apocalypse. They are scary. Okay. So if I'm coming up to a Herschel that's looking at Negan with dagger eyes, first of all, like Jasmine said, and I wasn't really ready to say that, so I'm glad you chimed in, Jasmine. Oh, I didn't tell him that it was him. But then it's like kids in the apocalypse. I don't know what he's capable of. He might knife me just to get to Negan right now. Like, she's just protecting herself from asshole Herschel. And I always wondered to myself, how does this sweet kid at least somewhat resemble even eventually the asshole Herschel, right? So, and maybe this is the start. This is the impetus of that asshole Herschel arc, or whatever it is going to end up. Because one of the things that you think in the back of your mind, and you can't help yourself from doing so, is, first of all, let's get this out of the way. Is Annie and her child going to be a part of the Negan Maggie spinoff, or Isle of the Dead specifically is what it's called? This is rhetorical. We kind of know maybe I don't know, maybe not. I don't know. Because it could be all of them going to Isle of the Dead for some dumb reason. I don't know. But then the second question is, where's Herschel in this promo?
That was my first question.
I wanted to
Maybe
get
he's
the
hanging
first thing we found out in this
with
episode
Negan's
out of the way.
baby and Annie back at Hilltop, and they're all friends now and like a big family.
Maybe they're all at the caverns
That's where they are. They're in the caverns.
with whom?
With Wendell and the
Tess
kids.
and this is a Fear the Walking Dead joke.
Tess
people.
and the kids.
It's a Fear the Walking Dead joke. After the nukes fall, where's everybody? Oh, they're in the
And
caverns.
Janice.
Yeah, and Janice and Ranger Samuels.
And Janice.
Oh, poor Ranger
Yep.
Samuels. I don't know. It gets you thinking. There's no real good answer. If anybody has anything to add to that, fine. But like, it's in the ether now. It's here. That stare makes it here. It makes it harder to imagine what could be with him.
It's why I'm so hesitant to believe that the spinoffs are real.
Like the Daryl Carroll spinoff, which isn't even named.
I'm sorry. I just like, as much as I want to believe that this is all this is happening, because I don't want Daryl to die and I don't want Carol to die, and that's a likelihood if there's not spinoffs about them. What did Kirkman do with the actual comic? He lied and said there were more issues, and then he ended it.
He scheduled the release dates of several issues following the final one. And then when you get to the end of the book, it's just like, this is the end. Haha, I lied to you.
Yeah.
In perfect Walking Dead fashion.
When you read the comics, do you not read, like, the post-comic, like, little commentary from Kirkman?
No, I don't.
He writes one in the back of every single comic.
I'll have to go check it. I have not. No.
He basically just goes, haha, I tricked you all. That's like his commentary.
So that's constantly in the back of my mind when I think about these spinoffs, is like this likelihood that
Haha,
maybe
we
they're
lied.
like, maybe it'll get to the end of the episode, a black screen will come up and be like, haha, we lied to you. There's no spinoffs.
Yeah.
There is no Negan Maggie spinoff. There is no Carol Dale
Yeah.
spinoff. This
Yep.
is it, folks. This is it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
You
put
know,
it past him.
I'm glad we said
It would
this.
kill me, but it's just something that's been on my mind a lot. So
I'm not holding my breath for any of these extras. I will get excited when they're happening.
I agree. To a small scale, dead in the water, but even then, they just finally announced something recently, like as we're going to pandemic. Oh, okay, it is happening. They secretly snuck it into the AMC Plus schedule.
When I get hired to work on all of these projects, then I'll tell you can get excited.
No, you won't. You'll have an NDA, jerk.
That's true.
But
So
like,
I'll have to pull a
you
Kirkman
know,
and lie to you.
No, I'll tell Charity in our Zooms, but like none of you. Fuck. Well, I guess it's fair.
Tales is filming, so I feel okay with that. You know, I'm like, all right,
Yes,
well, we're at least
yes.
getting something.
And that makes sense, right? That's like, okay, it's a spin-off. Let's look at the world from one-off episodes, let's say probably like Twilight Zone-esque. But the spin-off, the duo spin-offs, you have to understand something. It never occurred to me that could be the case.
That they don't exist?
Yeah. It never occurred to me.
Oh,
I'm serious.
It's like,
I'm like gullible or
widely
whatever.
Widely discussed online.
But I usually dismiss that shit. Because it's kind of like, would you stop with your fairy tale wishes and stuff like that? They said it's coming out. It's coming out. And then now I'll look like an idiot. But I like that. I don't care if I'm tricked. Let's pull a Kirkman on us. I think that's also this is as low as it is, Lance. I mean, it's kind of a genius move. Who would see their demises coming? Any of them.
It is, right. They're giving us a misdirect. We're like, ooh, these characters have spin-offs, so we know they're going to survive. And then,
It's a lie.
bum, 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 they don't.
But at the
Yeah.
same time, the entirety of the internet is like, these aren't real. So it's a misdirect within a misdirect.
There's a
I
problem
don't
with
know.
all of this. There's a problem with all of this because they get associated with the movies, which it was announced even before the Carol Dale spinoff, which one would have to conclude, I guess, are they happening because of the spinoff series, because of these announcements, because it was announced in 2019, it's 2022 now, whatever. I don't like thinking
Was
about
it 2019 when we first heard about the Rick movies?
that. I think so.
Really?
Yeah,
I thought it was even longer ago. I thought it was even longer than that.
2019 at San Diego Comic-Con, that stupid trailer.
Okay.
That Meg was
Okay.
really, really upset about at the time.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
the helicopter
I
one
remember now.
over the
Yeah,
city of
yep.
Philadelphia, or I don't know what the hell it is. Toledo, Ohio.
remember
Who gives
now.
a shit? Pittsburgh. I don't know. I don't care.
Toledo. It's Toledo.
It's
No, I'm
Toledo.
just- I don't know.
It's to laugh.
I didn't recognize.
I would kind of like to go back to the Negan Herschel thing, because obviously we've spoke about it from like how Herschel's feeling and Herschel's perspective. But I'd also like to think of it from like what Negan's going through in this whole situation, because I think Negan. Right, we know from like past experience that Negan like really connects with children and really quite likes children. So I think it's almost upsetting to him to know that he's taken away like this child's father, and like he actually really respects Herschel and like almost like understands like, yeah, you should be mad at me. You can see it on his face. Credit to Jeffrey De Morgan. He's an excellent actor. Like you can see like he's genuinely upset. He's just like,
Yeah, specifically that last bit when Herschel decides to put the gun down and Lydia takes it away. I love deliberate slowness in all of these actions. And then when they finally walk away, when Lydia finally takes Herschel away, that weird kind of like pseudo sigh of relief, but also sadness. It was just perfect. It was chef's kiss for the audio podcast. But like, right. It was just like I'm making fun of it now, but it's like this kind of like a tearful sigh almost. Not tearful, but kind of like regretful, sorrow-filled sigh. Like, I almost wish he did. I feel so shitty about this. I feel so horrible about this.
When Negan killed Glenn, did Negan know that Maggie was pregnant?
No one did.
Except for
no
Rick.
one knew at that point.
I think except for Rick.
Oh, Aaron. Aaron knew.
Aaron, thank you.
It almost makes me think, because after the lineup sequence, Negan makes a point of, like, I wouldn't want to kill a father in front of his kids, that's why I wouldn't kill Rick kind of thing. Do you think, like, almost, like, because of, like, Maggie being pregnant, like, he might have chose someone else to kill that day because, like, of the idea of taking someone's father away is, like, particularly upsetting for him?
Maybe. I felt like more people had known that she was pregnant. Negan wouldn't have, because how would he? But didn't they have the picture of the ultrasound in the RV, passing it around?
Oh, they were looking at the ultrasound.
I thought like that whole, because I thought that happened on the way there. So like all of those people,
but like the saviors, they're not aware.
They wouldn't be. But I mean,
To
maybe.
Jasmine's point.
Yeah, like
I was thinking earlier on, when Glenn goes missing, when he's under the dumpster, she only tells Aaron. That's what it was.
maybe that would have changed the way he had done it. Maybe it would have chosen somebody else. Maybe it would have been Daryl. I don't really know, but
Definitely not Daryl.
you don't think
but-
so? You don't
Nah.
think so?
It could have gone another way.
I would have said
feel-
Aaron, actually, but yeah.
Maybe. I mean,
Sharon likes to ask me every now and then if Negan had killed anyone other than Glenn, would I hate him so much right now? And the answer is always, no, I wouldn't. You don't hear me crying over Abe.
Right. Some people do, but yeah.
Definitely before Glenn's death, he was my all-time favorite character on the TV show. Like, he trumped like Rick and Daryl, who are like obviously people's favorite. But like, even though I loved Glenn so much, like, I can still see how Negan can have a redemption.
Oh, interesting. Rach, how do you feel about that? Even in light of this episode, let's say, because obviously there's a bit of remorse, let's say, on his part.
I don't know. That's a really hard question to answer. And
Sorry.
how stupid is this? Like, I'm having real emotions over fictional characters. I don't even want to say out loud. Like, I don't even want to say those words out loud because I feel like I'm betraying Glenn. Like, I can't even say it.
That's why we do this thing, right? We have to
Like, I'm
present the
gonna
opinions.
cry now.
I think that once Negan went back, so had he not had that last interaction with Herschel in this episode, that was really the part to me that had created that redemption moment. You and I will settle this. Get a little bit older first. Grow up a little bit. Take care of your mom. Be there for her. And then you can come back and find me. And we can settle this up.
Find me.
To say that,
Ooh.
and to say, like, I know that what I did just wrecks you on such a level. And I'm saying, come back later and we'll handle this like men when you're an adult, because I want to give you that opportunity. It was really powerful. It was a powerful moment. Although this episode to me really was tying up loose ends, this was like a shining light in that.
I can't look at Rachel right now.
I know. I'm getting a little worked up myself. So.
You're setting me up.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It was a lot to deal with, but I don't know. That is great writing.
Negan has, absolutely proved that he's different and can be an asset, but it doesn't.
He doesn't get to forget.
It doesn't make up for it.
It doesn't change what happened.
It doesn't make up for it.
And Glenn's not here.
I know, like, because we care about Glenn, like, it's harder to forgive Negan, but if it was another character...
Literally anyone. Literally anyone.
That's the thing. It's like, it's emotion. It's like emotion over action.
And what's interesting about your reaction is that, like, as much as you might not like Maggie even, well, imagine how she feels. As much as we want to judge, and maybe we do judge her because, like, how could you let this happen? Even though she had no choice in the matter. There's a part of you that you might want to acknowledge that says, how could you be okay? That's another one. Like that kind of...
let what happen?
Maggie, how could you... It's irrational. It makes no sense. There's a world in which, how could you even go on, Maggie?
Without her husband?
Yeah. How?
Well, because she had a child to take care of.
But I'm saying, how could you even experience happiness again? This is the irrational brain going, I don't even like that you're alive without him. Even though it doesn't make any sense, because there's a part of us
But she has a piece of him. She has a piece of him.
I think
No,
it's
no,
like-
I
That's
never
how she
said it
goes
was
on.
logical. You know what I mean? Like, but then, okay, she finds another man. Fuck you. That dumb part of your brain. That's not accurate. I wouldn't feel happiness ever again, Maggie, bitch. But then, like, now we're forcing ourselves to think about how that must be. I'm looking at Rachel and all I can see is Maggie's heart crying every day.
Yeah, I mean, if our emotional reaction to Glenn dying is this, like, Maggie's is just...
It's through the roof.
You gotta, like, accelerate Maggie's by, like, 1,000,000 times what we feel.
Yeah.
It's the weight. Yeah.
I mean, you have to think, like, I always try to put myself in that character's position. Like, how would I feel if my husband was dead and had been brutally murdered in front of me? Like, I would not be okay. Ever.
I asked my flatmate who watches the show, okay, so, cause she was, like, turning around on Negan and starting to, like, be like, oh, I really like Negan now. And I was like, yeah, but he killed Glenn. And then I specifically asked her, what if he'd killed your boyfriend? And she just literally turned to me, like, looked me dead in the eye and said, I'd be okay with it.
Because it's a boyfriend. This thing,
Wow.
dime a dozen.
Wow.
Anyway.
She is not ride or die. Like,
See,
at
now
all.
she's
ride
here's
or
what she-
ride. Like, she's just fucking out.
Whoa.
She's thinking this. Here's what she's thinking. If it means I get to be on the spin-off with him. Hot diggity dog.
Now look, I would, if anything happened to Eric, I mean, I would survive. I would get through it. It would suck, but I would probably burn down the earth. I would just go scorched earth on everything that got in my way. I would have no fucks left to give.
Right.
None.
Give the elephant his due. Fuck the rider.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, if anybody even looked at me sideways, boom, between the eyes, like
Right.
there would be nothing left inside.
God,
I would
Herschel's-
just be empty.
Herschel's more restrained than you. And yet Maggie persists, right? A lot of that may be due to the fact that she finds out Negan's married. Not necessarily the married part, but he found love. Maybe all those things are going through her mind like, fuck this guy. He doesn't get to find love.
Why does he deserve it?
Right.
And
What-
she doesn't. Yeah, that's where I would be.
Oh, and maybe simultaneously there's a flip side, right? Like, what's wrong with me that I couldn't? Why am I so broken? Maybe it's not the fact that he's broken, but that he realizes that I can't reverse things. And yet I am still a person. I still am a thing that by nature has this innate desire to live. And if I'm going to live, why can't I have eke something in this broken universe, right? It's already pretty fucking hard. So why don't we just do the hard thing together? I know that sounded a little weird. Why don't we do the hard thing together? It makes me go back to Lance in a way, like, okay, how lonely must that existence be? In spite of the fact that your ambition is driving you. That's sad. That's really, really sad in a sense. I actually kind of want to go back to Negan in a sense because there's something that happens here and it reminds me of Alicia and Charlie in Close Your Eyes. And Alicia says some harsh things to Charlie. She goes, and I don't think she's wrong, like, because it's innate in all of us. We all make mistakes. Even though whether or not you get forgiven for those mistakes or not, it still stays with you. You're forced to forget just by the very nature of how our brains work and survival and all that. But I want you to live with the things you've done. I want you to live to ripe old age. And I want you to never forget what you fucking did to my brother. Now, there's some interesting things going on here where you get to see a little of what that might look like in Negan. And it's getting worse for him. So it got me to thinking all the things that we said about Negan leaving. We said, oh, he doesn't trust Maggie to keep her promise, or, well, which is obvious. What if this whole time it was just him going, holy shit, that caught me off guard. What if it was just him saying, every time I'm around her, it reminds me of this horrible thing I can't even resemble or recognize anymore. Holy shit. And
Fuck you. Fuck you.
And what that must be like to live through that hell, that every day it gets worse. I have to look at her face and realize what I took away from her and her child that I didn't know about at the time. And what a hell that must be, which is why he says what he says to Herschel at the end. I don't know if I want to live like this.
At the same time, like, I think part of it's like, I don't want you to have to kill me because I don't want you to have to change and be a killer and have to live with the fact that you've killed someone, whether it's justified or not.
Right, like now. You don't need that now.
Yeah.
That's why he says what he says.
Yeah, you don't need to carry that.
It also occurs to me also that, and this is the tiniest of dumb things that I thought in my mind as we were talking about this, like, Negan loves children, obviously. But there's a part of him, like the educator part of him, even though he was PE, whatever. I have friends who were PE teachers, whatever. And they're really passionate about their children that they get to teach physical education to. But it must be something to kind of like a personal challenge to find that, like, that you can't connect with a child, despite to whom that child belongs. There's a part of him that wants to reach that child as a thing from the past. And it must hurt him on that level too, that there's just this one child I can't reach, that I'm not sure I'll ever reach.
Or like deserve to reach.
I don't know if he's thinking that. That's like it's kind of like Lance's ambition. I think there's that part of him that's like, I just need to try. I need to keep trying. Like, I don't even think that's going through his mind. I think I have to reach this kid for Maggie's sake, for his own sake. He is a child. I mean, they're born into this universe. What did they do wrong? Every kid has a chance to grow up into something better than than the shit that I've seen in life they could be. Because kids are just the early stages of the shitbags I see now, the people that make me see red. But if I can get them when they're young, which is kind of like what's going on here, if I can get them while they're young, maybe, just maybe, they won't be like those shitbag children that turn up to be shitty adults like in the Savior's camp. So I like what you said there. I like what you said that, like, it's too early for you to be like this. Maybe when you get to Carl's age or something like that, like, maybe then you can go after me. What an emotional episode. Did you think going into this that it would come out this way? No. I didn't think so either. Yeah.
I didn't even think recording this video today would go this way.
Honestly, I was really hoping I don't know how this is even possible. I was hoping we'd just sort of gloss over the Negan Herschel scene.
Sorry,
I thought
Rachel.
we would too.
I'm sorry, that was me.
I don't be sorry, because I think I think we found something in going through all this, though. I walked away with more than I bargained for.
We found my heart.
Can I add some levity to this moment then?
Yeah.
Please. I'm wiping the tears from my glasses.
That too. You should get those windshield wiper glasses.
I did want to say that I got to see more butt plates in this episode. And specifically...
I'm sorry, what?
We got to see more butt plates.
Plates. Okay.
And I got to see Daryl's and Rosita's, which I thought was just a real win in terms of costuming.
Chef's kiss.
I
Because
agree.
at the beginning, when they first uniform up, they've got like satchels covering it. And I was like, go figure. These actors, they're like, fuck this. Like, I don't want to show off this weird butt plate you made me put on. But then later in the episode, when they're clearing that house, that's when you see them.
You get those white peaches.
Yep.
So just thought that was nice. A nice touch.
Second watch, obviously. You're taking for granted that, like, okay, you want to go, like, how does Daryl know from cracking safes, right? What does he know? I can easily see that being a critique. Everybody knows how to crack a safe?
You think he cracked it? I saw him prying it open.
Right, but how does he know what to, like, and then it occurred to me, like, oh, he's done this before. Like a shipbird, Merle and him teaching everything he knows.
Well, yeah, probably.
Maybe.
But like, it didn't occur to me that, like, that would be the case. Be like, I'm thinking in my head, like, what is he tapping the hinges and stuff? What is it? What kind of cheap safe is this, first of all? But then second of all, like,
fair.
Like, but then, like, what? How does he know from this? I mean, I always regard Daryl as kind of like he knows some things, but doesn't know most things. That's just my dumb bias.
The safe is made from the same material as skulls in this universe, and so you can just fucking just stab right in there.
Well, he was doing something very specific with the crowbars. He was actually lifting the pin in the hinge. What?
He was tapping.
Are you imitating a crowbar and a hammer?
I am.
That looks like you're just like chipping away ice from a tiny ice sculpture.
It was so gentle, you know. Tip, tip, tip. Just a little
Was it
tippy tap?
Was it gentle, Bridget? Was it gentle? I heard clang, 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 clang in my damn ears.
How could you hear anything over the wah, 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 wah that was in the background?
We should do. Listen, Bridget, you and me, we do Foley for the show. You be the alarm. I'll be the crowbar and the hammer.
I want someone to edit a video over that scene where we're making all of the sounds. Just
clink, clink, clink.
Yes.
Chip, 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 chip.
That would be hilarious.
Let's talk about April for just a second, because April, the person that was on the list, reminder, they find her in the panic room, Cooper's father's office, let's say, And she's been in there for days after teams of people have been sent after her. Her team being a team of 12, all dead.
3 made it in.
She has 2 kids. She made it a point of saying that. Rosita has 1 kid. Daryl, in this episode, claiming ownership on force to Sebastian. Leave my kids out of it. There was like an ownership, like, those are my kids. I like that moment. But then you go back to April, right? Did you like that moment? I was just like, oh, I like this. Daddy Dixon.
Well, and also, well, yes, Daddy Dixon always, but RJ's a little smarty pants, skipping 2 grades.
But then going back to April, there's like that could have been me sort of feeling. I see Rosita putting April down, who'd just been gutted by these walkers, and I see like that could have been me. And I don't know what they're thinking right now. Like, I don't know how they can live in that kind of system. But I do kind of want to go back to the beginning of all this. Why do you think they take the job? Like, to hone in on, like, they could have easily have walked away from the situation.
Before we talk about that, I'm going to just say, you know what they were thinking? Why can't nobody stay fucking calm while they're gooped up in walker guts? Every person who isn't in our group just automatically dies immediately.
Tell me you thought this. Hold up. The slow motion exit from that panic room. What did it immediately remind you of? I want to see if you guys thought the
here,
same
I'm wearing
thing.
a poncho. Not really, it's a blanket. Let me just...
Like, what scene particularly?
Leaving the house in Alexandria.
Bingo.
Right before Sam starts shouting, Mom.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. I have to insert Sharon D's thoughts right now. I can feel her. I can feel her right here sending me these thoughts right now.
I feel
so
the presence
she made a very,
of Sharon D.
Yeah. No, she made an amazing point during this scene. She's like, okay, why the fuck do they do this every single time? They're in a room, and outside this room are a whole bunch of walkers, and somebody goes, we'll never be able to take them all. Let's gut up. And then so they gut up, and then they go through the door, and then they inevitably end up taking them all out. So let's skip all the bullshit and just take them the fuck out.
They didn't take all of them out. They only took the ones out in the house.
Can't you do the thing where you, like, crack open the door and, like, stab them in the head? They've done that before.
Right. Let a few in at a time. Boom, boom. Few more. Boom, boom, boom.
Right.
Yeah.
Possible. But if one gets through or if one gets bit, the only thing that I was thinking in my mind that makes sense is that she's been in there for days. The longest I think people can go without food is, I think, a week. The longest people can
3
go
days without water.
3 days
7
without
days
water.
without food.
Right. So now April hasn't even had water, let's say, in that room. And the only thing I could think of was I would feel probably the same as she. I don't know if I'd probably have the euphoria of being able to jump out of my chair and hug Rosita. Beyond that, my nerves are like this. Except for the podcast audience, my hands are shaking. I'm going to be reacting like a cat on a hot tin roof at the sight of these things. I've been in the Commonwealth walls. The only excuse I have for her is that she's not in the right place. She's not able to focus. She's all jittery and all, I don't have the strength for this. She can't push away walkers. She doesn't have the energy. There's no energy to spare. It's the same as Duncan, though.
Just let go of the fucking bag. Because that's what was doing it. Just let it go.
Just drop it.
Drop it, because you guys can kill them then, and then get the bags back. So, like, you didn't have to die.
But that's not rational. She doesn't have rational brain. She's thinking.
No, I get
Commonwealth walls.
I get what you're
they're like, I got it for my kids. I have to finish this. I mean, yes, they need their mother, but it's so bad there. Let's say it's so bad there that it's just worth it. And also food brain, like non-food brain. Like I'm deprived of the nutrients necessary to say, oh, but they need a mother. So,
you know what sucks even more is that the 12 people that came in with April, their families are not going to receive compensation from Sebastian for this.
Upon successful mission.
No, yeah, April's kids won't benefit from this either.
Not unless Daryl and Rosita go give them some money.
I actually wrote down, I'm like,
it would have to come out of their cut.
What happens to orphans in the Commonwealth? Is there an orphanage? Like, is that a thing? Do people foster? Do people take in kids there? Like, do they have a system for that?
Good question.
Yeah.
So I've thought.
Do they just chuck them to the walkers when their parents die, you know?
Yeah.
Of course, the young person's going to say that.
I thought about it. I mean, it's a personal thing for me, like, because we're looking into fostering and stuff. But because of that, I immediately thought about it.
Is this like a terminus situation?
Well, we don't want revenge.
See, you made me go there.
We don't want to do revenge of killing kids is bad.
Cancel Squawking Dead.
Well, yeah, killing kids is bad.
Dead.
Killing kids is bad.
Yeah.
But
kill the stupid ones.
And then I say eat them. And then huge mistake. So, no, but I actually did think about this, and there's some science involved in, and this is not so good. When things are good, say the Commonwealth, the desire to have children drops, actually. Fertility drops, as well as the desire to have children.
When things are going well, is that what you
yes. When you have wealth, you tend to not have as many children. This is all statistics. What I was thinking was, okay, what does happen to all the orphan children? Now, what happens to those children? Well, they probably get paired up and matched with an adoption agency. I can easily see an infrastructure of orphan children that they find or that lose their parents, let's say, in these endeavors, and then they get matched up, let's say, even with the upper echelon. You know, you never know. Especially those people, because when you're in the upper echelon, you're getting an allowance. Sorry to bring that chestnut. Things are so well. What more do I need? I don't want to have to take care of Rugrats. There's more to that science than just that, but like responsibility. But then like when they are kids already, like who's going to scoop them up? Oh, I'm a humanitarian. We can give them a good life, etc., etc. Okay, you look good. All right, let's take in those kids. And maybe there's a bit of compensation from the state, perhaps, to take care of that child. So maybe even the lower echelon has an incentive to take in kids, let's say, as long as they're not mudding around with our upper echelon kids.
Can we also assume that orphaned kids are probably pretty rare, considering everyone that kind of lives within the walls is pretty safe? I guess maybe unless your parents are soldiers.
That's exactly what I was thinking, actually. Soldiers or people who done the deal with Sebastian Orlac.
But I'd imagine that this deal is kind of, these 30 to 40 people, like, this just doesn't happen all the time. Like, you know.
Right. You're talking about 40 missing people versus like a community of 80,000. That's a very small number.
Well, let's also even say this much. It's been 10 years. You don't think this sort of thing has happened? And, you know, that's a lot. That could be potentially a lot of children that have grown up in the last 10 years, which could also spawn a whole other spin-off series. Kids of the Commonwealth. It's for kids. I don't know, whatever.
Maybe a lot of the orphans are recruited into the army.
I would imagine they would be.
Where else you got to go? Then there's a whole other side of this factor, which is like in poverty, there is a tendency, obviously, to procreate. The problem is, shows the genius of the system.
Everybody's bored, so they're fucking.
Well, there's an emphasis. That's what people want you to think. But technically, what it is there's a value system, right? If we don't have wealth, we value each other. You know, we rely on each other. And typically, in olden times, you had to have children to work the farm, though. This is why how you did the things, and then you lose some along the way or whatever to famine or drought or whatever it is. Maggie story.
Barrels.
But why does that not exist here? There's no land to till, so now you've taken away that incentive and added another pressure, which is what something we said early in the episode, which is okay. It's one thing if you're in the lower class and you're by yourself. What is it like to have kids and make this little money? With deflation, with all you may get fed, but you're not going to get beyond ratty clothes that get deposited. And so kids in the lower echelon are also frowned upon or aren't supported by this current system, let's say. It's interesting to see the pressure on both sides. Statistically, these people will not procreate, but by the system standards, they will definitely try not to procreate because the system can't sustain it or they can't sustain having children, let's say. So it's just a non-option. There is one thing we haven't talked about. It's something that I predicted, but it's not to the level that any of us thought could be possible. And you know what I'm going to say next.
Leah.
Hashtag Team Leah, as Sharon D said in the chat earlier, with 3 hearts. Green ones, too. Let's open the floor. Spill your guts. Because what do you feel about this, Rachel? How do you feel about this Leah coming back into the shadows, or coming out of the shadows?
I feel excited, but also like, whose side is she going to be on? Because holy fuck.
I think she's still definitely going to have some animosity towards Maggie, that's for sure.
Definitely. But, you know, how does that play into the much bigger picture? I don't know. I have more questions than feelings, I think, about it.
One thing I would really like to know is, you know, obviously Leah and Daryl spend a lot of time in, like, the cabin together in the woods. I wonder how much Daryl shared about his life with Leah. Like, did he know that there's like 3 communities, like, and maybe she wants to like track them down?
I doubt
she knows there's people, but I don't
think she'll know anything about like where or anything like that. But you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Daryl was like, oh yeah, I was from this place. You know, not saying like what it's called or where it is or anything, but like yeah, she might basically be on like a revenge kind of mission.
If that's the case, and I'm just putting this out there from what we do know, is that she would have guessed that when she had him and was saying, oh, are these your people? No, I just trade with them. Then why didn't you go back to your old people? Oh, yeah, well, we lost them because they made a deal with the wrong people, or they had a run-in with the wrong people. Okay, that's over now. But I don't think she knows the extent to which she was involved with or that there is an Alexandria, let's say.
Yeah, I don't think she'll know that, but she knows that he has people.
There is something, and I'm sorry I didn't bring it up before because I didn't think of it. Why is the episode called Find Me in 10C?
Like literally, or I mean, that's what he writes on the map.
Where's the map left?
In the cabin.
What if she went back to the cabin?
Oh, and then I get it. Yeah.
I didn't think of this until Jasmine. I didn't think Jasmine was right, but then I'm like, the more I thought about it.
Yeah. So if Leah went back and found that
After Pope died.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
saying she found it after she killed Pope.
Yep.
Yeah, so say she went back to the cabin after 11 or 9 and then found the map that says find me. She could be following that with the intention of like basically killing Maggie.
Or who knows what the intention is.
I don't love that.
Well,
I
yeah.
don't love
She
it.
don't have anything else to do.
If she found that letter from Daryl saying find me, then she would know that he told the truth, that he did go back to find her. Like he did choose her and she just wasn't there.
Yeah, but it's not even even about that anymore. Like everything's it's all beyond that now.
Yes.
I mean all of her people are dead. And that's in part Daryl's fault and largely
It's
Maggie's
so
fault.
much her fault. It is
Oh,
so
yeah.
much more her fault.
But in her story,
Yeah. Yeah, because in her mind, she's the main character, remember? Everyone's
Yes.
the main character of their own story. And at this point, it's just like, fuck Daryl, fuck Maggie, fuck
Again.
her people. I've got nothing, I've got nobody. I'm going for revenge.
So what role does finding this letter play in all of that, though? Is this just like more fuel for her fire, or what? Like, what are we saying the letter means to her then when she finds it?
It's a mission. And whatever that mission leads her to, who knows?
Did it just like piss her off to see this, and now she's got a bug up her ass, or what?
She has, like, the location.
or remnant of his past or whatever. Because remember, he leaves that map in the cabin and then he comes back, sees, oh, it's a wreck, blah, blah, blah. We interpreted it at the time as like, oh, somebody took her or... But then we find out later on, oh, no, she left in a huff. Daryl Dixon made him mad enough for her to throw shit and wreck her own place and left. So we know she's capable of anger. So she sees this, and instead of seeing this as a gesture of love, in her mind right now, as her people are her past, what was it like? What would it be like to see all your people die, or what were your people die? Or your
family.
Yeah. So and she's regarding this now as, I should have never let you into my cabin, and this find me shit is gonna be like, find me so you can kill me. You know, like that.
Yeah, into her cabin.
Okay. I'm still having a hard time wrapping my head around Leah's mindset right now, because
Oh,
everything
no.
that happened is fully her fault. She's just blaming it all on Daryl.
It's natural human reaction to blame somebody else.
Neuroticism.
And when she has nothing to lose, that's what she's gonna do.
Maybe that's why I'm so confused, because I always assume everything's my fault.
Well, here,
So I'm not understanding
Me
this
too.
mindset.
so you're not a neurotic. You don't tend to blame
Yeah.
others for your problems.
That's being like that's like a different mindset.
Depressed.
Yeah.
Instead of neurotic. Well, you blame it. You go inward.
And at the end of the day, even if you do blame yourself in part, you can look at it and be like, well, Maggie literally killed 3 of my people right in front of me, the last interaction that I saw.
Fair.
And you're a soldier, so you're trained to like, oh, that's it. We go
Yeah.
after the bad guys.
Yeah, and she did try to kill Leah. So in Leah's mind, if I were Leah, I would think Maggie's still probably trying to find me and kill me, right?
Come find me.
So I might want to find her and kill her first.
Also, we still don't know why the hell Hope hates Maggie so much.
Thank you for putting a button on that too.
Yeah. Is anyone else feeling like we're not going to get an answer to that?
Leah might know why the hell Hope hated Maggie so much. She might not, but even if she doesn't, she's just going to be like, well, it must be this girl, because why else would the Pope be so against her, you know?
Right. Amen.
Yeah.
To kind of bolster the argument of the revenge theory and that she may have the map, we had said, nah, couldn't have been her. She had to have found people for some reason in 6 months, around 6 months, to find me, to get this convoy to hit it, right? But guys, no. And it's
She's a
more
fucking
terrible.
badass.
No, she doesn't get to be a badass. She
Yeah,
gets
she's
to...
a fucking badass.
Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned Dave.
I say this because, look, it is, in a way, badass. But, like, to me, it's don't glorify this. I mean, it's amazing.
Well,
but it's also, it's fucking terrifying.
It's terrifying and it's messed up, but it's fucking badass.
yeah, it was
No,
awesome.
those two things can't exist. You can't have a fear boner for, well, I was going to say
thing.
Zool. Like from Ghostbusters, but like, oh shit, I was very confused as a child. It's like, am I supposed to have an erection? No, I don't know. But sorry, you can't have erection at 5. Can you? I guess you can. All right. Anyway, let's move on.
So,
But to get to the, I was not thinking badass. I was thinking like, oh shit, like, oh, because what does that mean for our people? That this was all one person's doing. What does that mean?
The whole, like, mental place that she would have to be to, like, let's face it, this Commonwealth group has no association, as far as she's concerned, with anyone in our community. She literally has to have the mentality that, I don't give a fuck about these people, like, they're just getting killed, and I'm taking this shit.
Think of Morgan, Clear Morgan, but with, like, I just, like, a whole other level of, like, I'm going out of my way to clear. I'm Sadiq trying to, but instead of trying to put down the vessels in which the souls are trapped, he's like, well, they're still living. I might as well, start the party early, just kill the people, the souls, release the souls while they're in people. Just everybody dies.
I don't think it's reminiscent of Clea Morgan. She killed them people with the intention of stealing whatever shit they were transporting, but it's still pretty messed up.
I just wanted to throw it out into the universe. I'm not ready to say that she is entirely on her own yet. I think it's possible that she is with people. It's also possible she did this on her own.
Well, that
but I'm not
seems
completely
the
dismissing
case.
that she doesn't have a group. Yeah, it does seem like that because of the little of what we saw, but things aren't always what they seem.
Right. And so that's why I said I'm not 100% ready to even say, even because I feel like she has the map now and she has a goal. There's a drive and there's a focus. Who cares about the Commonwealth? Fine. But then, like, I'm also thinking to myself, what is it that she wants? It just can't just be about revenge. Because then what is there? It's like that. When you have this funny feeling in the back of your head, but what is there after? Because I do see a mirror between her and Carol in this moment. I feel like, there's like but what comes after? When you do the things, what is there left? You're killing for ghosts who were already ghosts before the apocalypse.
But she has nothing left.
I'm just saying because of time, too. Like 6 months gives you so much time, and accelerated in the apocalypse gives you so much time to think. How long can you stew in revenge alone? And maybe if that's the only thing giving you comfort or sanity in that time, there's a possibility. But then I'm thinking to myself, I'm getting too deep on this in a TV show. I know that right now. But then I wonder what is it she's trying to do that may not be 100% all about revenge. And let me throw one out there because it just came to me. What if she kills everybody around Daryl and she'd be like, I'm the only one left. Love me. Psycho. But like, I mean, like that, again, isolation, thoughts of revenge. Like, no. Going back to the theme of Alicia and Charlie and Negan and Maggie of like, this thing is a hell that you have to live with. All the people around you are dead. Who are you going to be with right now? Yeah, you're going to be with your friend's killer. But don't you love me, Daryl Dixon? You wrote this find me thing. You wrote this map to find you. I found you. Love me, Daryl. Love me.
I mean, she doesn't really need to be jealous of anybody. She's the only woman he's been with anyway.
Well, not jealous, but more like this, like, there's nobody left for you to love just like me.
What if she kills Connie?
You shut your mouth
Connie.
right now, Jasmine.
As long as it's not Carol. Kill them all, just not Carol.
What if she kills Carol?
Let God sort them out.
She's like, right, I'm now on a mission to kill everyone that you cared about because you killed everyone that I care about.
And that does seem more likely because Carol would maybe be more in the field than Connie. Connie is a journalist behind the walls. I don't... Unless she gets all investigative.
Well,
But
Leah can
obviously
try and
Daryl's
track Carol.
currently behind the walls, so we have to assume that maybe a Daryl-Leah reunion is going to be quite a little bit further down the line.
I think it's eventual. Yeah, I can't see a world where it's not. All right, I know we're thinking
Daryl
was
end up
it.
having
We'll
to kill
never see
Leah.
Leah again. That was her last scene.
Well, by the way, that makes me think of Virgil. Where's Virgil in all this? I don't know. I just
Yeah.
wanted to, because Connie, and then you made me think of it. And I'm like, oh, well, we forgot about, and Luke, where, Bridget say,
Where the fuck is Luke? Where the fuck?
he's in the caverns also, just with Virgil.
Yep.
And who was the one we just said was in the
Cindy?
caverns?
Where is Cindy?
I did want to say one more thing. We weren't 100% certain of this. What's great about the beginning of this episode is that you establish that Carol and Daryl are actually better. So much so better that I think they know what's going on. Like he knows the side gig, let's say. I like that. Now, I did
a
notice
date.
one thing.
That was my favorite line.
I know, but they're just, I don't know. They're just besties,
Why-
you guys. They're just besties.
Rachel.
They are.
No.
They
Bridget,
are.
still
They are.
logic. Stop it. Rachel, hey, Rachel.
They are.
What is, why is it your favorite thing? Tell me
What do
you
you-
didn't think in the back of your crazy brain that that maybe there was something more to that. No?
There's always something more to that.
Hard pass.
Did-
Hard pass.
Because
They love each other
Yes.
more than any two
They
characters
do love
on
each
this
other.
show.
I just don't think they like.
But as
really
friends, because you can have intense love for friends.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But it doesn't take much to cross that line. It won't take a lot to dip across that line.
This is like Bellamy and Clark. Like, they have to be permanently friends. It's not allowed to be
the
more than that.
100 she's referring to. Just-
Yes.
Yeah,
I got
oh,
that
I know,
reference.
Yeah, I know Bell and Clark. Yep.
I'll say one thing. Do you know what I just did to you all? I Lance Hornsby you all. Because I got the one move here, and I got this one here talking facts, and this one here talking crazy shit about Carol. Hashtag CARYL. I'm kidding. Kidding.
Everyone's entitled
Everybody
to
hates
their
me.
own opinion.
Doesn't mean it's right.
I watch from the shadows.
That's right.
Watch this as I stir shit and get people to spill all their feelings. No, but I did like that scene. It established all the things from Diverge, which there were some diverged hints in this episode too, by the way. Interesting ones. Hornsby says to Carlson, they're like rats. What are you going to blame a rat for being a rat? Carol with the rat. Okay. The garage that they're in, this with the solar panel batteries, same garage as in Find Me. And then of course, the thing that makes it the thing is like them actually being okay. Actually having a rapport, closeness. It's a date, which could be anything, right, guys? And then, but then like having plans for the future, having a thing that was not like the end of Diverged, which is like slamming doors and garage doors and whatnot and being fed up with one, which I liked, guys. I know I stir shit, but I'm going to tell you the thing that I liked. So mystery solved on that front. I was a little concerned. Guys, I know I stir a lot of shit, but I was concerned. I want them to be okay again. As much as for the last 2 years, I was kind of like, I don't know, some friendships can't be repaired, folks. I know when you get so close to somebody, you make a huge mistake over and over again. Can you possibly be friends? Oh, you got to bring it up to the ether and let people discuss. Put Rachel through all that hell for nothing. They're our friends again now.
I knew they would be. I wasn't worried.
I made her so mad over these years.
I wasn't worried.
Those are the best clips, though. Anyway, I guess that wraps everything up. But if you like what you heard, head over to ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead. 5 stars and an eggplant is all we need to know that you love us. But use it as a platform to tell us what we got right, tell us what we got wrong, but tell us after every episode. It really, really helps. We will post your rating on social media, even if it sucked. We're transparent here on Squawking Dead. Also, we laugh at your dumb ratings, and then we show it to the world. Isn't this person dumb for thinking we're not the best Walking Dead universe podcast there is out there? But if you're convinced that what I said was just really funny, or if you like that Bridget was laughing at me instead of with me, why don't you join the family by heading over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead and just follow us. You don't have to buy us a coffee for 30 days of access to our supported back content like being in the recording sessions or getting the unedited episode or joining a membership tier and getting all of that perpetually for as little as $1. All you have to do is follow us so that when you feel like jumping in, you get the goods on what happens behind the scenes. Even if you can't always see what's being posted, you can just do it at your comfort level. We just want you to be involved in any way possible. I've been your host, David Cameo. And I was joined by Cosmom09 Rachel Burt, Survivors tier members Bridget and Jasmine. No social media accounts attached to them at all.
Jasmine.iac.
Well, now she likes it. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you, hopefully, very soon for another breakdown of The Walking Dead's final season.
Why do you got to go there? Why
I
you gotta
don't
go there every
fucking
time?
know. There's a thing inside
Stop
me that
it.
doesn't stop me from doing shitty things.
Stop it.
For a laugh.
Stop it. You already made me cry once. We're doing it again.
I gotta say, it was really healing to kind of. I didn't think it would hit, but I really like that we went there because I felt it. I felt it when I was watching it. I just needed to say something about it. And you guys got something out of it. So that means the world to me. It means everything to me. So that's why we do what we do. And everybody took something different from that interaction too. And everybody brought something to the table as a result of that interaction. So I loved it. I love it. And I hope you love it too, audience. So take care, everybody. We'll see you very soon for another emotional, maybe, episode of Squawking Dead. Take care. We'll see you soon. Goodbye. Oh, look, Jasmine's waving goodbye. Oh,
Bye.
she's doing what I tell her to do. Oh, she stopped. Okay, everybody, shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down.